I think I have it. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I do want to emphasize the amount of work that all the staff members have put in on this. It has been, every year it is a huge project for us. And this is a culmination of many, many hours and really also a shout out to Terry because she has sort of been my right-hand man in putting this budget together. She's done a really good job. Yes, sir. So I have a just a brief presentation and some of the highlights that I want to discuss with council, and then we can get into the details of some of the specific items that we do have to talk about. First off, as Cindy mentioned, everything is about your priorities as a council. So when we went after our retreat, we said, okay, we want roads, infrastructure, communication, and recreation. And so everything that we tried to budget was pushing those goals forward in the different areas. We did pass out a budget packet earlier, and that had the structurally balanced budget detail, which we'll go over those charts really quick. The budget request summary, that's basically the budget request summary is a list of all the items that the departments asked for in their budget, in addition to what they already had in their budget. So these are the new items or the increase in cost. If they need to increase travel by $1,000, it was in there. If they needed a new program for some reason or a new vehicle, that was included. So basically we started where we were last year, and any increases or additional services and products they wanted to purchase, those were included on that list. And that eventually made it to Cindy's desk, where she went through and said, yeah, let's do these, or let's don't do these items here. The budget personnel request summary, which has a summary of the positions, which we'll go over in detail, the total revenue summary, the department summary, and the state budget forms. The revenue summary has what we budgeted last year, how much we're expecting, how we met our budget or exceeded on those items, and then what we're projecting for next year, and the same with the department. And then the state budget forms are what you're going to see at next week's council to adopt our tentative budget. And as you know, the tentative budget sets the maximum amount that we can have the budget for, but between tentative and final approval, we could actually reduce the budget if so desired. For the last 3 years since Cindy's been here, we've been really focusing on this, and that's really to set a structurally balanced budget. And instead of, I won't go through all this, but basically you have two types of revenues. You have recurring revenues, and then you have one-time revenues. Same with expenses. You have the recurring expenses like the power bill. Every month we have to pay the power bill, the phone bill, stuff like this, actually personnel, staff. And then you have one-time expenditures like capital improvements, purchasing vehicles and things like that. Well, the idea with a structurally balanced budget is your ongoing revenues or your ongoing expenses never exceed your ongoing revenues or come out about equal. So, and then any additional money is, you can use your one-time revenues for capital and things like that. So our idea here is that even if the economy goes bad, as long as those ongoing revenues keep coming in and equal or really exceed our ongoing expenses, the town's in a good, stable financial condition. So that's the goal. And it's actually a very conservative and smart way to budget each of our different funds. So with that, the general fund, as you know, is our biggest fund. Most of our expenses come out of this. And each fiscal year, and so let me go over the chart really quick. The orange are our ongoing revenues. The green are our one-time revenues. The yellow is our reserve or our fund balance. I'm going to use those words interchangeably, up and beyond what's required for reserve. So the red is what we're required to, which is about 5% of the fund's expenditures. So this is all just rainy day funds. The yellow and red together are rainy day funds, but you don't want to ever go into the red. You want to have that reserve to cushion any emergencies that you have. The blue bar is our ongoing expenditures, and the gray is our one-time expenditures. So that's going to be your capital, etc. As you can see, this fiscal year, we budgeted actually to decrease our reserves, to bring this line down to we budgeted to decrease our reserves because this extra reserves was growing and growing and growing every year. So we did think, and the biggest amount that we spent was transferring money over to the HERF fund or the roads to do road work. We're doing it again. So in this fiscal year, you can see the general fund, our ongoing revenues are just slightly above our ongoing expenses. We have some one-time revenues, and we'll talk about a couple of those in particular in a few minutes. But this is our current budget year that we're talking about. This is last budget year. And as you can see, our ongoing revenues were way in excess of our ongoing expenses. And that's because we had very positive revenue increases this year, which I'll go into detail. Our HERF fund, same thing. We're right on the edge. We're just right there. We're not spending any more than our ongoing, but we do have a couple capital projects. And the biggest capital project that's causing this big of a bump is $400,000 for a roads building in there. So that's what does that. And then ongoing, we really didn't plan any capital projects here. Now, HERF, this is just the operating fund for the roads department. It doesn't include any of the capital road improvements. That's in the roads capital improvement fund. If we have excess funds in here, we can transfer them over there to it. But this is really the salaries, the equipment, the gas, the oil, and all that kind of street signs, all those things. That's what's in this budget. The capital improvement fund, this is our 1% sales tax that we transfer from the general fund. And this is really just used for capital projects, pays our debt service. We transfer some back, 150 for the aquatic center and 250 for the police department every year that we do that. And so you can see that we're almost tipping into the red here, but that's okay because these are just capital projects that we're doing in here. And if we have the money, we can go ahead and spend it here. And if our revenue projections fall short, we just don't do a couple of capital projects and we'll be fine. There's no payroll or personnel or anything in this budget. The Water Enterprise Fund, it's a small fund, about $1 million a year. We don't have a large extra reserve in this fund. It's pretty much break-even cash flow. We have a couple small capital projects. This fund, just like the roads fund, if they do have excess funds, we can move it over to the water capital improvement fund or the water CIP and do the capital projects there. So this is just the operating fund for the water system here. And it's just the revenues are just barely exceeding the ongoing expenses. We have a couple small little projects that we're going to do in this fund. Now the sewer system, this is probably the only bad news that I have for you guys today, is we are not collecting enough revenue to cover the ongoing expenses. We are finishing up, it'll be before you guys in October, a water and sewer rate study. And they're going to recommend a sewer rate increase for all our customers. I'm thinking 3 to 5%. What the problem that we've had with the Sewer Enterprise Fund is all the buy-in fees that we've been receiving. We've been using those funds to fix all the capital things that have been breaking down, like the grit screw, the airlines, and we've just put since we took over the plant, we have just been dumping money into getting that plant up and operating to where it should be. And the guys have done a great job, but everything sewer is extremely expensive. And so and the fact that we only have, I think, one subdivision coming online this year that's going to have additional lots. We've built out Bright Star, we've built out Highlands Ranch. We're not seeing the buy-in fee activity. Plus we've had to slow down the housing market. So a rate increase is, we need to do it. We really do. So the fund is going to be negative cash this year. And one of the transfers that I'm requesting is that we transfer some cash in from the general fund just to get their cash balance to positive for it. So the general fund is basically supplementing the sewer fund right now. So, but the good news. Last year, we budgeted this is just our town sales tax. This is the general fund side of the sales tax. We budgeted about 7.9 million. We're estimating that we're going to collect about 8.9 million, almost $1 million more. Combined with where we're thinking we're going next year, we're going to have another 266,000. So that's $1,250,000 more than we were projecting this time last year. The capital improvement fund, which is our 1% sales tax, same scenario. We're up about $300,000 more than we projected. Part of this is because we do conservatively estimate our revenues, but we've also continued to see really strong growth in our sales tax. So there's another 400,000. So now we're about $1,750,000. We had our state shared revenues. This is what we receive. We receive state shared sales tax, income tax, vehicle license, and highway user revenue. All those came out pretty close to budget, just about 210 high more. And the League of Arizona gives us the estimates on what these are going to be the next year. And they're usually pretty close, within a couple of percentages. Some of them are right on. And the one that's right on is state income tax. And you can see that it's gone from 2.5 million to 3.6 million, up over, just a little over $1 million. We're thinking we're treating that as one-time revenue, because we know we're going to have one more good year of this. And then the league's saying that they're going to see a drop off. They're not going to say it's going to drop off a cliff, but they're thinking the last meeting I was part of, our webinar I saw, they're thinking maybe a 30% drop. So the smart thing to do is not spend the money until you receive it, but also treat it as one-time revenue, because you are going to see a drop in that revenue in 2 more years. And then hopefully it'll start tailing back up. So we have a plan for that extra $1 million, but I want you to remember that as we go forward. So we're a little over $3 million more in revenue. We're about $2 million ahead of where we thought we were going to be this time last year. And we're seeing another increase of about $1 million too. So we've got about a $3 million increase in revenues in just our general fund revenue line item, which is going to allow us to do quite a few things. Here are some of the transfers, and I won't go through all of them, and we'll get into maybe a little more detail in a couple of them. But every year we transfer money to different funds to support different processes. Mm-hmm. The capital asset replacement fund, that's what we use to buy vehicles, some vehicles with, not all of them, but some. And we're trying to build that up. So if we budget 250, we only want to spend about maybe 200 and just let that fund balance build every year. Sort of a rainy day reserve vehicle and equipment replacement fund. We're moving money from the general fund to the general fund CIP to fund a couple of capital projects. This is what we're recommending for the sewer fund to help with their negative cash. 200,000. This is excess HERF funds that they don't need. So we're going to move that to the road CIP. And the same thing, we're recommending transferring, and we'll talk about that as one of your items. Originally, this was a $1.5 million, but because the fund, it looked like we had the money, Cindy and I recommended that we moved up to $2.5 million. So we need to talk about that. Of course, the annual debt service payments that we have. And we also transfer from the CIP to the general fund to support the police and the aquatic center. And then the water just has a small capital project. So the money, we do transfer monies between funds to do specific things. We're recommending that we take out a WIFA loan to start the engineering design on the wastewater treatment plant. Frank's estimating that's going to be about $900,000. There's always closing costs and additional costs when you borrow money. We'll get on their preferred or their project priority list. And we hear a rumor that they have 1% money out there for design and engineering. So hopefully that comes to fruition. So either way, it's going to be pretty cheap money to do that. And then what they will do is roll that over into whatever we need to borrow to actually do the wastewater treatment plant expansion when that happens. We have quite a few things in the general fund CIP, quite a few projects, water related, Old Home Manor, replastering the pool is a big one. Professional consulting services, I think, is water related. Town hall flags and landscaping. We just put in $100,000. I know that's an important project. We have $100,000 for the asbestos removal out of the mobile homes out of the roads yard. And that's one of those projects. We put the 100 there, and if everything's good by the end of the year, we do it. Otherwise, we'll just hold it and wait another year. It's not an emergency. Starting the utility master plan for 500, and then completing the general plan. This is about the last bit that we need to finish that up. We need to talk about remodeling the old police department. We have 150 for town hall improvements, do some things here. A mobile message board, recreation facilities, amenities and stuff. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then a park maintenance building design also. But we also have our COVID relief funds. We're doing the one East sewer project. And then we're also have about $2 million left of the Perkinsville 89 water and sewer. So we starting the fiscal year with about $3.8 million left. We plan to hopefully spend it all by the next end of the fiscal year. The road CIP, we have $1 million to reconstruct local streets. The fiscal year 22-23 improvements, that's the bid that we just awarded the other day with the one East sewer line. This is the roads portion. So this is really a rollover from the prior year. Next year's 23-24 street improvements of $1.5 million. And then starting the design on the next year's 24-25, we put $100,000 in for that. So a total of about this fiscal year, we're basically $2.6 million worth of road work and $2.1 million last year. Water, we're finishing up the fill station. That $100,000 is really to do the concrete work and all the plumbing and getting it so that the new fill station out in Old Home Manor is done. We got the equipment this year. We'll do that next year. And then to start the new well and pump design. Sewer, an I&I study, collection study. The department's been asking that for quite a few years, and that's probably time that we go ahead and do that. $25,000 for driveway rock, and then start the plan expansion engineering. The reality is by the time we get the RFQ and everything out, we're probably going to be January before we start. So it's probably going to be about half that month number, but it'll just roll over into the next future years. So this slide, and Cindy, I'll start with the PSPRS and then we'll just go. These are some of the items that we thought we wanted to talk to you guys about and wanted your input and see if we're in the right direction and have a pretty detailed discussion about. I could start with the PSPRS if you'd like.
Yeah.
Okay. I got a couple slides way down here in the bottom. As you know, we have an unfunded liability with our PSPRS. And we have been, since 2017, we've been putting $300,000 to $400,000 towards that unfunded liability. Started off, did really good. Then we had a change in the actuarial valuations. We had some staffing changes and it popped back up. Then we started just dropping it down and it is heading in the right direction now. Now, every $100,000 that we put towards this saves us about $8,000 a year in contributions for our existing officers. It reduces the amount, the percentage we have to contribute to their retirement. So it's about, if you look at it that way, just simple math, it's an 8% return on your money that you're putting there. The goal, of course, is to get it paid off. So we have a plan. Right now, our total unfunded liability is $2.4 million. Next council meeting, I'm asking that we go ahead and use our excess contingency funds. And this is what we've been doing every fiscal year. If we have $300,000 or $400,000 left, we just pay that into the PSPRS before June 30. So it counts for the next year. So I'm recommending that we pay down $400,000. In July, we pay down another $1 million if you guys approve that in the budget. And then this time next year, hopefully you'll have $300,000 to $400,000 left in your contingency fund. You can make that same transaction again. So now you're getting it down to about $500,000. Now the actual amount will change because of the actuarial reports, but it's going to make it. We can make a significant dent in this liability. And honestly, this time next year, if that's a $600,000 number, you could probably budget and just pay it off. So a 2-year plan. We originally planned doing it over 10 years. So this will get us about 8 years to get it paid off. It's about right on schedule. So, and that's all I have on that. And there you go.
All right, great. Thank you, Joe. So as Joe mentioned, we put together a list of things that we thought we should highlight that would, for discussion, that we have in the budget for the most part. But we wanted council discussion on it. So first, we have $125,000 scheduled for recreation amenities. And what we're talking about there is, we know that we need some upgrades to like the dog park. We need to do an analysis or a needs assessment over at Center Street Park. I think that's something important that we need to be looking at, what should be going in at that park. And then there has always also been some discussion about the need for pickleball and how we might incorporate that into the budget, or how that might look. So we would analyze that. So put away some money for doing those types of things. The next one, the additional roads funding, and Joe touched on it. The project that we have scheduled in there now, we have about $1.5 million set aside to do the next CIP project, and that's Road 1 East. Right? Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. But there is additional one-time funding available in our budget. So we would request to put an additional $1 million over there to do an additional road project. And we're likely looking at doing some additional local roadways, local streets. And before I move on to that, I'll go to the capital ones. Let's go down to the remodel old police building. So once the police move into their new building, we'll have that building available. And our plan, what we would recommend doing is remodeling that building and putting public works staff over there. And hopefully we find some room for HR as well. If you've been into the development services / public works building, they are bursting at the seams over there. We're kind of putting people in closets at this point. So it would be nice to utilize that building. Town hall improvements as well. We need to do some remodeling over here. And a parks maintenance building. And this is for the design of the parks maintenance building. They really don't have anywhere that they work out of. So it would be nice to have space where they could have their own home there. So those are kind of the capital items that we are recommending in the budget. And then moving on to positions. There are a number of positions recommended in the budget that are already in the budget. And we'll go on to that slide. Okay, so, and we have the microphones, and we'll have each of the department heads talk about their needs and why they requested this. And that starts with Erin, because her position that we're recommending is the record specialist. And Erin, if you could please talk to us about your need for that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So with this position request, this is something that state statute actually requires, that all municipalities have a designated records person. Right now, Sarah is technically that person for our municipality. With her increased workload, we lost our minutes transcriber at the beginning of the year. She took on another duty. So Sarah's been inundated with the minutes part of it. So we really do need another person to fill this full-time position to make sure that town-wide that we are in compliance with the state when it comes to all of our records, whether they're permanent or non-permanent. This person will actually work directly with every department in the town to make sure that we have a records management program, and also alleviate the business license issuances from the development services building, who currently take on that role. And according to our town code, that actually should be in the town clerk's office, not in the development services. So that is why I'm requesting another person.
Thank you, Erin. And Chief?
Give it just a second so you can get these in your hands, and I wanted to read them to you. You need more?
I have an extra, or do we need copies? Okay.
I think we're good.
Paper. Tell us about the budget, chief.
So I'm going to talk about these sworn positions, and I'm going to have Marilee come talk about her civilian position. So what we requested in this year's budget is 3 additional sworn officer positions. Our goal at the end of the day is to get the officers off 12-hour shifts. We've been working these for a long time, and it's causing a lot of issues with burnout, increased use of sick time. The lieutenants were kind enough to run some numbers today, and we literally lost almost the equivalent of 3 full-time people to sick and light duty this last year. There's a lot of legitimate uses. We've had a heart attack, we've had some surgeries, things like that, but you also get guys that can't get vacation days, and they will just tend to call in sick if they need that day off. Well, that results in other people having to pick up the slack and working additional hours. 12-hour shifts can also easily turn into 13 and 14-hour shifts. Just this past Thursday, we had an accident that occurred just after 5 o'clock. Center Street and the highway needed to be closed down. So we ended up holding our day shift over. Our night shift was out there. We have animal control out there blocking traffic. So it's just, the calls for service are going up. We ran those numbers too, and they're steadily increasing. The one good thing about all that is we looked and our injury accidents were down, which we want to be down, but calls for service, traffic contacts, things like that are all increasing. So, most of we've gone over kind of the schedule and how long it takes to get officers trained. I mean, we currently have on paper 30 in the seats, but 2 are in the academy, 2 are in field training. We have 1 on military leave for a year. Just last evening or yesterday afternoon, one of our officers was approved for retirement, so he'll be leaving the end of next week. We have another retirement July. And then we have an officer our sergeant that accepted a position working in probation. And one of his primary reasons for leaving was the 12-hour shifts. He's just burned out. So now I've got, technically I've got 30, I've got 2 job offers out there, but before those 2 start, I'll be losing 3. So we take a step forward, we take a couple steps backwards. So our goal is to, like I said at the beginning, is to get to the 10-hour shifts. It's going to take us some time because we do have to hire some people. We're hoping that once this budget kind of gets settled and we know where we're going to land salary wise for next year, we're going to start putting out feelers to some of the other local guys that try to steal. We probably shouldn't say steal, we're the police. Entice maybe to come over, because we like to see a balance of the certified versus the new, because again, the 2 that I'm offering jobs to that'll start in June, they won't be literally solo officers until next May. So although they're on the books as an officer, they're not actually outperforming on their own. So we like to balance that with bringing in some certified guys with some experience that we can get out on the street as quickly or quicker than if they had to go to the academy. So I'm not going to read all this to you, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Okay, well, I will have Miss Marilee come talk about hers.
Thank you for having me. So the police specialist position that I'm asking for. So we used to have 3 years ago, and then 1 got pulled from us, and that's when we opened up the evidence tech position. So we've been working on 2 all these years. So I'm requesting a police specialist, a job to go back up to 3. Obviously, we've had a lot of people move here since then. I mean, I've been here for 10 years. So we've had a lot of people move here. Our population continues to go up, which means that's more police records and citations and warnings and walk-ins, everything. So our workload has gone up. And then with the new police department opening up, we would like to extend our hours and open up on Fridays. So with that, I do need another person to make that happen. Right now it's hard when sorry. It's hard with people that I have 2 people. So when one is sick, then I got 1 person in the office. A lot of times I have them planned for training, and then that screws up the training. So with two people, it's just very hard when everything just does not go right. So having another person will help with that. Also, because of body cams now, people are requesting body cams, and to redact those, it takes hours. And our technician, our evidence technician, she just spends way too many hours doing that, and she can't do her normal job. And so she's been training one of my girls to do it. So she's going to spend a lot of time redacting body cams. So with that said, I can use another person in the office also with that. State and federal agencies are increasing their yearly audits for us. So we keep getting additional requests from them, which takes time to fulfill their request. So that is why I'm asking for another police specialist. So do you want me to go over my part-time adoption also? Yay. So over at the animal shelter, I don't know if you guys ever go there, but every time I'm there, I can't even spend 10 minutes to talk to my girls over there because people are constantly coming in to the shelter and they're getting interrupted, which is wonderful. That's why we're there. We're there for people to come and see us and come see the dogs and cats. But these dogs and cats, they need our attention 24/7. So when the girl comes in and she spends the 3 hours, 2.5 hours before the door opens, she tries to get back there and feed and water and take the dogs out and clean all that stuff before the doors open to the public. Then once that happens, she comes in, to the office. But then she gets interrupted by adoption. That's a long process when people want to adopt a dog or a cat. Meet and greets when people bring in their pets to meet the other pets and see if that goes well. Taking animals to the hospital. So all of this stuff is taking away from the office and from the phone and from the paperwork. So if I could get another part-time specialist in there to make sure that the phones are covered and that phones being answered and people, the doors stay open, then that is my goal. So I would like another part-time adoption specialist to help with that. All right, thank you. Any questions?
I have one.
Okay.
You have a lot of volunteers for the animal shelter, correct?
We do. We have about 10 to 15 volunteers over there, but ones that come every week and you can count on them, probably about 4.
Okay, and is Debbie full-time?
Debbie is full-time. She just went full-time last year.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Marilee. All right. So now we will turn it over to Frank to talk about Public Works.
Okay. Want me just to go down the list, how they're listed is
Sure.
fine. So let me get to can you hear me okay? The parks maintenance worker, that's based off of, right now we estimate per national standards for parks and recreation, they estimate about 8 full-time employees for every 10,000 residents. We estimate about 13,500 is the population of Chino Valley. You can easily add another 5,000 for the surrounding areas, west of Reed or the Paulden areas that utilize the parks. So our park staff is estimating we need to be fully staffed approximately 11 full-time equivalents. Currently we have 4. So what we do is we try and supplement with seasonals, but doing as much as we can, even with some of the changes we made, it's hard to find those seasonals. So what we're doing here is looking at increased workloads. We're splitting shifts right now during Little League, especially. to cover Monday through Saturday. So we've got one crew that works Monday through Thursday and another crew that works Wednesday through Saturday. They need 2 employees for Little League, so that only leaves 2 other employees to do everything else. So, and with the police station coming on, that's another 2 acres of landscape maintenance to take care of. So we're requesting, instead of the 4 that my managers are saying we need, let's just start with 1 this year and see how that goes as years go on, is kind of what we're looking for there. So we're asking for an increase of 1 full-time equivalent position for parks maintenance. The custodial is somewhat in the same vein. We've got 2 custodians right now, and we're finding that they actually are completely busy. We run into some of the same issues Mary Lee was discussing with just 2 employees when one is out sick or has a sick child or can't get to work. Sometimes it gets hard to schedule people. And with the police station coming on board, that's an extra 15,000 square feet of building to take care of. Standards say that you should have a custodian for every 18,000 square feet. We've got about 100,000 square feet of building. So instead of having 5 or 6 employees, we're asking to up that to 3 custodians for now. The one thing I will caveat that with is we are exploring options of contracting out the police station, because they do work multiple shifts and 7 days a week. So if we had our own on-staff custodians, we'd look at staggering shifts. Another option would be to contract that out with a service to do that. So this position would be one of the other of that. So that's what we're looking at as far as custodians. Fleet mechanic. Let me pull that up real quick. So the fleet shop has been continually trying to improve their maintenance, and I think they've been doing a pretty good job. Years ago, some of you that might remember when Ricky De La Horta was here, we had 3 in the shop there. Since he left, we've only had 2, and that's how we're functioning now. With all the vehicles and maintenance, I think we're probably 200 pieces of inventory plus between the vehicles and rolling stock. And we're adding 20 additional vehicles in the next year or 2, replacements in vehicles. So we're doing some good things. We're implementing the software for fleet management. That's going really well. We're constantly having to train our staff with the way vehicles are changing. The technology is just getting more and more. So it's getting less of turning wrenches and more of running computers. So Matt, our manager over at fleet maintenance, is requesting 1 additional position, and that would bring us up to the 3 in fleet maintenance is what we're looking at there. And then the last one is the public works admin. We're still looking at replacing Sherry. There's no replacing her, but the position. So Laura, I think we're advertising that in the next day or so, I think.
Yes.
We've reclassified that to an analyst position. And what that'll do is give me some more firepower to manage some of these systems we're putting in with the pavement management. We've got a lot more projects online that we need to work the schedules. Need help with, I think, our 7 or 8 budgets that we run in public works. That's a big part of it. And just tracking all that is, so what we're lacking, since customer service is no longer an official department, we still need someone that can handle taking in the maintenance request, taking in the maintenance requests and phone calls. We do have 3 or 4 permits that we file as engineering aside from the building permits. We've been getting a lot of help from other departments lately. Lori's department over in development services has always been a huge help, and they're helping us out, but they've got plenty to handle on their own. Aaron and folks at town hall have been helping out fielding calls. But especially once we move into the new building, we need someone to run that front desk, and that's what that is. There's also additional duties. In our fleet shop, they were requesting a half of a full-time position to deal with inventory and ordering parts and some of those administrative duties. So this person would also be able to handle those duties. So I'm trying to think, I have 4 division managers that would be working with this person as far as administrative duties. So I think it's highly needed. Like I said, especially the building, that will help take some of the load off these other departments that have really been doing above and beyond what they should be doing so far. And that's pretty much our staffing at Public Works.
Do you have any questions of Frank? Okay, good. So these are the positions that we felt our budget could handle. And if you'll notice in your packet, there were 2 other positions that were requested that we didn't bring forward as a recommendation this year. There are a lot of needs out there, and I think the departments did a good job of requesting what they knew they really needed. And you can hear from what they said, they have some great justifications for that. There was a request for a part-time person in HR, and there was a request for a person in our IT department. And although we know there is a need for that, even if we hired them, there wouldn't even be a place to put them right now. We're out of space at this point. So those ones, after speaking with the department heads who requested it, we decided those are the ones we would not move forward with recommendation this year. But they are on our radar, and we know there are needs. And I know, as Frank mentioned, there's needs in other departments. I think Parks have put in, originally asked Frank to put in some additional 4 people. Yeah. But this is what we feel like our budget can handle. There is one other one that I wanted to discuss with you that we didn't include in the numbers yet, because, and that is moving our PIO to a full-time person. And before we put it in the budget for recommendation, I wanted to have that discussion with you because it was a point of discussion last year. That was a request we had. And last year it was decided to make that just a part-time person. But as you know, communication, transparency, building trust, that is feedback that I get from the council. And it's one of my goals next year is to develop more of a broad community engagement program. So that takes a lot of effort. And I have heard some feedback that they would like to see improvement in our PIO efforts from what we're doing this year, but that is going to take some additional resources. Having a PIO is more than social media posts or press releases. It's really about branding, having a bridge between council, staff, and the community, and making sure we're putting out all the information we can. And I think we can do a better job at that if we have more resources. So for that, I am requesting to move that position to an actual staff person and as a PIO, but I knew that would be a point of discussion for you. And with that, I think that's all the items that we had to put out there. So we'll open it up for discussion.
Where would the full-time PIO work out of?
We are going to have to make room in town hall, but we put some money in the budget to do some remodeling, so we could try to work that out. I know it's going to be tricky, but that's something, if that's granted, we'll work through.
What's the plan? What's the plan for the PIO position? Are we gonna go with what we got? Are you gonna test out
Mayor, council, yes, we'll put that out as a recruitment. Because currently it's just a contract. It's not an actual employee.
Is that the request for recruitment wherever it was? It was a supplemental request. Where was it at? 35,000 executive search supplemental HR. Was that for that?
Finance director, that's the search for that.
But why?
I know.
I'm sure.
Just take his knees out. He'll.
Oh, this is his last budget
I'm
session.
getting old.
It is.
Man, now you look younger than ever.
I got,
Yeah.
it's.
You're not getting old.
I'm-
Mhm.
No, actually, any, Councilmember Perkins, we have not included any, it's an additional $75,000 more than what we had budgeted for the contract this year. Sorry. So we budgeted, we have 50,000 budgeted to continue with the contract. This will be an additional 75 that will just move to personnel.
And this will be like a legitimate recruitment process for PIO.
Mayor, Councilmember Perkins, yes, it'll go through our normal process.
I'm sorry. So this PIO is going to get paid 125? Is that what you said?
That's the total cost, including benefits.
Okay.
Health insurance, yes.
If we were to say yes to all the positions that you've already requested and you want the additional PIO, which position do you cut out?
Mayor, Councilmember, it wouldn't be cutting out, it would be adding that position.
So when is the windfall going to come? Because that's just 125,000 this year, but it's a continuous year. Every year it's an extra 125 grand plus cost of living and all that. So where is that funding coming from?
Okay, so we do have sufficient capacity within our ongoing revenues to cover this position.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you really think with 17 press releases a year that there's more than 40 hours a week?
Mayor, Councilmember,
just don't see it.
I do think it is a full-time position and there's more than press releases. That's just the surface things that you see. In my perspective, there's a lot that needs to be done. We need to do more community engagement. We need to have someone who can help council with more community engagement. We need to have someone out there representing us. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. They help do our branding. This year, we actually were lucky to have her help us work with community services to get their new branding effort done, to help development services with the community engagement part of the general plan. And we have things like that that go on. And I even speaking with the police department, they would like to have someone who can help them do additional PIO duties and make that more of a concentrated effort where it's not separate, where they're having to do stuff separate. Now it'd be more if it looked like it was more part of the town, not just the police department putting things out. And honestly, they have more important things that they could be doing than having to put the press releases together or put out news for the police department. This person could help do all of that as well.
Most of the information that I get from the PIO is just forwarded emails that I've already received from other people, and they're always a couple days late.
I agree with Cindy.
And I don't see the need. Because I get more information from other people than I do from the PIO. And one time I got an email from you, 14 days later, I got one from the PIO. Same thing. Same news.
Oh, Mayor, Councilmember, you mean some that come up on your feed?
Pardon me?
Something that came up on your feed?
No, emails.
Oh.
You sent an email about the general plan, and you sent that on the 6th. On the 20th, I got an email from Lewis saying that it just came out.
And again, I have heard feedback that we need to do a better job at that. But it just takes additional resources for us to be able to.
I agree. I
that.
think we're getting the information, but the citizens are not So there's a lot of behind the scenes, like Cindy said. So I think we do need a full-time PIO.
Really?
I don't. I don't see it.
don't.
I think contract for a town
Well-
of 13,500 people should be sufficient. We're only-
Say what you said again.
I said, I think for a town that's 13,500 people, I think 40,000 plus K contract for PIO services is more than adequate. You know.
So you're saying stay part-time?
With
yes.
improvement. Sorry, I spoke out of turn.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
What'd you say, Annie? I'm sorry.
I said with improvement,
Right.
a
Right.
lot,
A lot.
a whole lot.
Whole bunch.
I agree.
Well,
with a
and
lot of
Maggie does the
improvement.
branding for the town, so that I don't think that's really applicable to the PIO, and the police department do an excellent job. I can't reconcile that a full-time position when the part-time that we approved. We're not really seeing the fruition of the 45,000 we're already paying.
But it's a part-time contractor and I think she's working at her own pace. A full-time contractor, we working directly with the town every day.
Well,
Big
okay,
Difference.
for discussion's sake, our prior PIO was a contract employee, and yes, he complained. But he was at every meeting. He did all of the headshots that we pay out for now. All the important things, he disseminated the information to all the news outlets. I'd done a little of my own research. They get 2 to 4 emails a month from our PIO, which is not acceptable. And that was for 10,000 less a year.
Chief, who does your social media marketing?
Chapman.
We Sorry, Vice Mayor. We have multiple people because we try to be timely. So if one's not on, another one does. Primarily the 2 lieutenants do the press releases. And then Marilee's staff handles the Facebook and social media side of it.
Okay.
He's the one that actually does.
Musical chairs. Mayor, council, I do see a need for a full-time PIO for the town. I think we're missing a huge opportunity with outreach to our community. We need somebody boots on the ground at critical incidents to do real-time updates. I can tell you, Randy and myself spend a lot of time trying to do the social media. It's overwhelming. I've attended 14 meetings in the last 2 weeks via Zoom about emergency management, fire preparedness for the season. We have quarterly PIO meetings, and we're the only town or municipality that doesn't have a representative from the town that shows up at all these meetings. So we're doing back and forth. It'd be nice to have an additional resource with the town that we can call when we're over inundated, because if there's a critical incident, we're all on scene. So to be on your phone, I'm not real savvy with my phone, but luckily he kind of is. We get stuff posted. If we had somebody we can call that was full-time and saying, hey, we got this critical incident, come on out. They can do real-time updates for us while we're dealing with the critical incident. The problem we're also facing is when we send something out, the town reposts it later. There's really no communicative effort there. With all the we're missing out. I mean, if we have roads, Frank's doing something with the roads and we have boots on the ground there with the PIO going, hey, I'm out here at the roads. They look like they're doing a great job. We're keeping them updated and engaged. And with every training I've been through PIO, state, local, whatever, you have to have constant engagement with the public. And nowadays, especially with the new generation that always is on their phone. That's all the news they get. And if we're doing outreach, we'll have more volunteerism with the town. They'll be updated on stuff. They're excited. We'll bring more people here. We do a pretty good job with what we have, but just that full-time position, there's enough. I mean, to be looking at legislative changes, bill changes, a full-time PIO to keep updated on that they can push things out. Hey, the legislator met this week and they're doing stuff for small towns and things that will interest the public and keep them engaged at the council meetings. Hey, this was a great time interviewing people, putting out videos, things like that is what we're kind of missing out on, that key aspect. And trust me, there's enough for 40 hours plus. And with the part-time person, Trish is great, but she's busy too. And we have her for 12 hours a week or something like that. I mean, that's enough time for a couple posts on social media and maybe going to talk to the town with the radio station. So we're kind of looking for a little bit more cohesiveness with the town, all the departments, and I think it'll work, to be honest with you.
So you guys wouldn't, police, you would no longer be doing your own press releases. And I know, please help me understand that on site, because I know that during police activity, there's no one on site until the police send out their press release. So how would that work?
As far as the PIO,
Mhm.
so we have a critical incident management system through the county. If there's a critical incident, there's a command staff page that goes out.
Mhm.
The PIO would get that command staff page saying there's a major critical incident, just like all of the administration does. They can then call us and say, hey, is it a big time? Yes, boom, they're there. We can have them come to the scene. And we could say the roadway's closed. We have this. They can do real-time updates and help us out with road closures. If there is a mass casualty issue, hopefully not, but if there's a critical incident with that, they can update for hospital evacuation plans. They can get all that stuff out immediately so that the town's not going, what do we do? Is there an alternative route for us to go to? Is what's going on with the closure of the high school because of the water issue or whatever? If there's somebody that's there, or even if they're not on scene per se, we can contact them on the phone and say, hey, here's what we got, put it out. Because we just can't leave and go to a computer and put it out while we're on scene. So we've ran into that a lot, where we're roadside on a major accident, we're typing stuff into our, still directing traffic, trying to get stuff in. So there's enough work for them there, and we can incorporate that. And that's something that we're going to have to kind of build on as we go and see what the capabilities are, but we need to have that capability available to us so we can kind of tweak things. And right now, I don't think we have a social media kind of engagement policy or procedural stuff with the departments. That would be something that a full-time PIO can go, okay, here's the rules of engagement, so to speak, where all the departments are cohesive in their message to the public. We would still do our own public postings because there's certain things we can say or not. So if we're putting out a news release, it'll probably come from us. But if we have somebody full-time, we can train them to our standard of what we put out for law enforcement, what we can and can't say. Because we have, Lieutenant Chapman went to a 2-week course. I was in a 2-week course, and we're constantly getting updates, Zoom meetings and stuff with what we can and can't say legally. We can bring that PIO for the town in and train them in that aspect too, so we can utilize them when we're over inundated. With a part-timer, we just don't have time to sit down and go, here's what we need. Let's train you up on how to get this done. Oh, my soapbox.
Oh,
Sorry.
thank you. So Mayor Council, you can see why I put in this. We have some I get some pretty passionate pleas from staff from being able to organize this and have a more cohesive plan for public information. And it speaks to one of your priorities was communication. So again, but I will leave it to your discussion.
And there's more than one social media out there, right? So there's so many different social medias, and I think we need to be on all platforms and have every department on there. So it is a full-time job, really is.
You agree for that price point? I mean, realistically, with the exception of the legalities that the police department has to do and proper procedures through the town, I don't see the PIO and legislative issues. Cindy, you said that you were covering that under your office. So a full-time PIO, to me, I don't believe is at that salary point for this size of town.
And Mayor Council Member, I can let Laura speak to that. She's been out there and did surveys to see where that should be classified.
In December or the first part of the fiscal year, we conducted a class and comp, and just out of curiosity, we threw that position in the pool of positions to assess, and the median rate of pay for that position was 82,000. So that's where we've placed this position, but including the additional fringe benefits, it brings you up to that number that you see. So your pension, your health insurance, your workers' comp, all that good stuff.
And that's basically for a 24-hour a day, 7 days a week person?
Yes.
24 hours.
Mhm.
No, I think they're gonna be 8 hit the day.
Yeah, be on call all the time.
Mayor, council member, it is true. It's kind of like me, the police chief, well, all the directors, they're 24/7. You have to be ready or have a designee at that point, but yeah, they would need to be available if things go on the weekends during the night.
Are they management? Are they accepted service?
They would be considered a professional exempt individual
Okay.
with the town.
Hey, it's been an hour. Would you guys like to take a quick break?
Wherever you want to back.
No,
Sure, sure.
I just thought we'd get up, stretch your legs,
Sure.
I'm fine.
have a fluid balancing opportunity.
amateur rodeo. We're just here to, we're paying our dues.
So there's
Here's
a couple
where
of
you
things.
got
that
all the
says-
monkeys.
I can't keep myself organized, so. It's an e-note tablet. I got one for me and Tiffany. But look at, so like this, like if I go into this. I never do. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get ourselves organized. So like I have this folder. So
And we were talking about a PIO, and I think, Annie, you had the floor, didn't you?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought you were ready to say something and I interrupted you.
Well, I'm used to that.
No, nothing new there, right? Normal.
Um. Here's my concern. Okay, we don't have the space for temporary HR staff. And we don't have the space for an IT support technician. We have a contract PIO that for future references, I hope if we hire a PIO as a contract employee, improves quite a bit and maybe oversight improves quite a bit. Just being very honest, what I'm seeing now is something a high schooler could do in between playing video games. And that's just my opinion. It's not at all what I expected out of a PIO. Even at that price point, even at that contract, perhaps we were spoiled by our previous one. I'm not sure. PD, I love you guys. You guys do an excellent job. I cannot justify a full-time when we can't fit other departments that clearly need IT support technician. How many people were just talking to Spencer about their iPads? I mean, there are so many needs that I can't justify a full-time position when it can be handled if managed properly at a part-time position. And with that, I yield.
And I would like to echo that, I don't think the current PIO is doing a very good job. But I don't think we should base that on if we had a new full-time that it would be increasing what we have. Hopefully it would be something good. And I don't know if it's full-time or not. From what they're saying full-time. You know, the staff could fill it. I'm not sure what they do. Josh told us during break that Prescott Valley has 8 PIOs and their staff. So I don't know. I agree. The money seems high. 82,000 a year, you know, is a base salary. So that's a lot of money, but I don't know. I know we need something to get. It would be nice to have somebody that could get our communication better, because that's lacking, you know, especially on my side, because I get emails from people all the time and some of my answer I don't see as important, and I should have answered them because they were important, but and other ones that I take time with are just blowing in the wind. So it'd be nice to have somebody to steer that. And then the communication with PD, it'd be really nice to get out real-time facts instead of 2 days later when they get a chance, they get a report on whatever happened at the wreck wherever, you know, and it'd be nice to have that faster, even though Cindy usually, or the chief one, texts me and tell me if a road's closed, so that I know, but we need some improvement. I agree with that 100%. Now, whether that's a full-time person that can be here and just do this so they can concentrate and do a great job, or do we have another half-time, part-time position out there that would dedicate that much time to this and have the time to dedicate to everything that's going on here?
I volunteer.
I have a question. You wouldn't
That-
allow this to be a
that-
remote position, would you?
Can be,
It can't be.
can be.
No, Mayor and Council, it would be in the office position.
Because remote's what we have now. And I think
Right.
that's part of the problem. They're not here to feel the pulse of what's going on.
I concede to that. I absolutely do. It just seems like we're a small town still, and that's a pretty high salary for someone. I don't know, you know, if you guys all want to do it, I'll go along with it, but
I'm not saying I'm here nor there. I'm just saying I don't like what we got now. We need something better.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot happening in town, like when, what's his name?
Eli Crane.
Thank you, Kane. There was no coverage of that. Cindy and I attend several meetings that there should be mentioned, and nothing happens. And it's not Cindy's job or my job to do that. You know, and some of them are important issues that people wonder about, like the Safeway merger with Kroger and Albertsons, which is Safeway. You know, that would have been a good article for the paper. To be people to hear what was said and what was proposed. So I don't know. We need something better.
I agree.
And while now the question is, I think we all agree we need something better,
Mhm.
but is that better full-time or part-time?
So what about part-time to work into a full-time position?
Mayor, council, we tried that. It's extremely difficult to get anyone to work part-time position like that. Cause you're gonna want there, if you get a full-time position opening, people are looking for that for also the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not getting that part-time, and then you're not gonna get probably the job that you want out of them.
It's also 30 grand on top of the salary and benefits. That's,
What if we tried it? I mean, we tried the part-time and it didn't work. What if we tried for a year?
If you tried full-time for a year,
and
it's
already,
an employee.
I'm sorry.
It would be a.
You're right.
full-time
'Cause then
employee.
then we'd have to say, sorry, it didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean,
You're right.
I
I'm
could do
sorry.
it,
That
but
just
not
popped in my
legally.
head. I spoke without thinking. Thank
Unless
you.
did a
You're
full-time
welcome.
Contract, right? There is full-time contract, right?
Mayor and council, the way we recruited, I believe there were only two people, it was only even two people to choose from. And we did a lot of recruitment.
For the part-time.
Mhm.
And I can understand driving to Chino for part-time job. Because you probably wouldn't live here.
No, because there's nowhere to live.
Or well, there's nowhere to live anywhere, but even still, if you had a second job, it wouldn't be here.
Laura.
And Mayor and council, I think Tricia does the best that she can do with the hours that are available for her to put into this. So
And I
there's just
understand
a
that,
lot
but-
of, behind the scenes work and stuff that goes on. I understand that isn't seen. And I did agree, we can do a better job in social media and
Mhm.
stepping that up. But I do just want to say that for the hours that are available, she's done a good job.
Or is that median income for PIO statewide?
No, when we did the class and comp, we surveyed, and I don't remember them off the top of my head, but it was 12 entities that were comparable to us or in the region. So, and our big challenge is because of our rural nature.
Right.
But also, if somebody's gonna take the job, they're gonna need the full-time job to make it worth their while, then maybe they will do a good job. So no matter where they live, if they
Right.
can't live here, but if the pay and they do a good job, then they might be worth it.
Go ahead, Tom.
Who backs them up? She gets sick, he or she, whatever it is, gets sick, goes on vacation, who covers?
Mayor and council, that would be the police department, it would be our administrative staff, our department heads, we would work together to do that.
So can I ask a question of Joe? So on top of this, yesterday when we calculated the positions they all suggested, it was just shy of $1 million. This would take us over $1 million a year expenditures.
Yeah, just a little bit. We're about.
Right.
Microphone.
Yeah, yesterday we were about 890, so another 120. This would take us to $1 million.
So so with all these positions, we're adding an $1 million, roughly $1 million a year expenses, which are now going to be classified in the routine,
That's correct.
ongoing routine,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
increasing our personnel by $1 million.
Before we commit, I'd like to ask questions if we're done with the PIO about the PD. I want to get into some statistics about that, but if you guys want to talk more about the PIO, I'll hold off.
Mr. Mayor, you want to do round and round?
Yeah, go ahead. Bob, you
Well, I already
got
spoke. Eric? Oh, sorry. Be quiet. I'm not.
I don't see the use for the full-time PIO.
There's a smile.
Get used to it.
I don't see a use for a full-time PIO. Part-time, I can go with if they could come up with stuff quicker and not old news. and not just forwarded emails, I think we can stick with a part-time for right now.
Amy?
Oh, I already spoke.
Oh, Eric,
Already spoke.
I think I spoke too, but I
Not
could
much
go.
details.
I don't like what we have now. I think we need something better, and I don't know if that's a different person or full-time.
And part-time, even if you go part-time, 12 hours a week doesn't cut it.
No,
That's not part-time, that's jump change.
yeah.
Come on, if you're gonna hire a part-time person, hire a part-time person.
25 hours a week.
You will get somebody for that price for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Good luck.
I already spoke.
Sherry?
Good, Dale.
Okay. Now go ahead with your PD.
So I'm gonna hit you hard on some of these questions, but know that I'm fully supportive of the police department, but I'm looking at the citizen to patrol officer ratio per thousand, that's pretty much the industry standard. Would you agree?
Yes, and you
Yeah.
need to calculate in the size of the town. The statistics we actually ran today, the lieutenant looked up, and when you calculate the square miles and the population, it's about 2.4 nationally, which would equate to 34 positions, and we've actually would be at 35 if we filled them all.
Well, I don't dispute that, but I didn't read that anywhere in the CSI and all that other area, all the other data spots, but the goal was to try to get a town between 1.6 and 2.0. So it's 2 officers or 1 point, the idea area for most municipalities, unless they have a super strong crime index and a really dense population, was 1.8 officers per 1,000 citizens. Right now, based on that, just with the 32 assigned, you're at 2.28. So you're already exceeding standards. So then I was like, well, how does that compare to Prescott Valley? So I called Prescott just before I got here. They have 84, Prescott Valley has 84,000. So I figured it out based on 50K, they're at 1.6. And then Prescott is 1.4 based on 71 officers for 49,000. So we're exceeding, I mean, we're above 1.8, we're even above 2.0, we're at 2.28.
Well, and some of the numbers are not correct. I mean, we spoke directly with Prescott and Prescott Valley yesterday. Prescott's currently at 80. Chief requested 14 in this budget, and it looks like she's going to get 7, so they would move to 87. Prescott Valley yesterday, we talked to them, the deputy chief directly, and he told us his current author. Now, none of these are staffed fully; they're authorized staffing. Prescott Valley's at 84 and plans to be at 87 in July.
What'd you say Prescott was?
Currently, they're authorized 80.
Oh, they told me 71, but
Well, that's probably where they're staffed. They
Okay.
are greatly understaffed, but I think they're authorized 80 positions. Chief Bonnie asked for 14. I think she's getting 7 is what we were
But-
told.
don't get me wrong, I know, but we had this conversation a year ago when this council approved 2 or 3 positions then, you said you needed it because we're always falling behind because there's always somebody out this. And when we did it, I remember you were like, okay, you should be good for what? Yes, I'm good. A year later, you're asking for 3 more and our population hasn't significantly increased in 1 year.
Well, we're trying to move incrementally. If I honestly thought I could fill all these, I would tell you yes. Chances are we're not going to fill them this year,
Right.
but if I don't have them in the budget and some miracle happened and I get the people walking in the door, I want the ability to hire good people when they're available.
Agreed.
If we advertise today, we won't even get, people we hired on board for the first quarter of the budget year.
These numbers, these people these are sworn officers
Just sworn officers.
online or like. Those 2 are sworn officers, right?
Well, we currently have 32 approved positions. 30 are filled on paper. Nine of those are either detectives, administrative. So that leaves, I'm doing math in my head here.
And all those are included in this on patrol,
Well, we have,
even though they're not on patrol. I'm
Sworn
confused.
officers, just sworn officers.
But I don't understand because Chappie's a sworn officer, but he's
Right.
not on patrol, right?
so when you pull out the non-patrol, which is, there's 4 detectives, there's a school resource officer.
Okay, so those are pulled out.
Those are pulled out. So
Okay,
So
Thank you.
assigned to patrol today, I have 21 assigned, but of the 21 assigned, 2 are in the police academy. they get out next month, they won't be on their own until the fall. Tour and field training that hopefully will be getting out in the next month or so. I have the one that retired that's been on light duty retiring. I have 2 more on light duty. And I have another one that's given us basically his pre-notice. He's just waiting on his official offer to leave. So, actually out of the 21 assigned to patrol, that's
11.
yeah, something like it's crazy. And it's
How many do you have in the drop now? And how many were in their last 5 years, say 15, 17 plus?
we ran the numbers today and we have 5 that are going to be leaving for sure.
5 that are leaving. 5 years.
If they choose.
See,
to.
and that's what I'm seeing is that buffer to cover,
This is what we're
the-
trying to get the buffer.
as guys are going out, people coming in.
That's what you said last year.
People are retiring and leaving.
No, I get that. No, I get that, but we
Well-
would be the highest staff per citizen police force at a big cost when, I'm not a doomsday scenarios, but I think we should be prudent with the overhires that we're talking about doing, because I think there's gonna be a market check. And what are we gonna do if there's a big market check? I mean, all the indicators are there. It's just a matter of when.
25,000 vehicles do go through the 89 on a daily basis, though. And I don't know if that's taken into factor.
Well, that's the issue is that you have to look at, well, even Prescott, they have the tribal police and the college police within their jurisdiction that they can
Right.
use as backup. We have to call a deputy that may be coming from Ash Fork. So you're not really comparing apples to apples. The averages are great, but we have 65 square miles. And sure enough, the minute I get a wreck at Outer Loop and the highway, my officers, he's up at 5 North in the highway. So the response times and things, trying to keep those, good for our citizens. And we have a great response time. And I don't want to see that.
Plus your guys are working 12-hour shifts.
They're working 12-hour shifts. And then what happens is we see that spiral into using the sick time, which means more people are off and people are working more. And
We're not filling empty positions now, am I correct?
we're trying.
So giving you more empty positions helps how?
In our recruitment efforts, I think it helps people know that we're a growing department. We're trying to show potential officers that the new building's great. That's going to be an amazing tool just in itself. But we want them to see that we're growing and that there's going to be opportunities for specialty. And the biggest thing we see when people don't come here or we lose people, because we do try to talk to them and find out why. And when they want to go to the county or Prescott, it's, the opportunities are there. And so we don't want to seem like we're stagnant. And if you get hired here, it's going to take you 20 years to become a sergeant or become a motor. Like Joe can tell you, I don't think I've never been over budget on my personnel, always under because we're always short.
No.
So, and we won't be over this year because there's no way we'll get these people hired. And 2 of the retirements are my 2 highest paid officers right now. So the replacements coming in will obviously be substantially less.
What's the increase in population with Perkinsville 44? What is it,
189
100?
homes.
Yes, sir, I am.
Homes over there.
How many? 100?
162, average family 3.5, so
I
got
thought it was
500 people,
2.5.
2.5, 2.5.
We serve a ton of county residents too. As you know, I mean, our recreational activities, our shopping, people going to work. I mean, that's for the 25,000 cars a day. So, it's just, even though it's not just the growth in the town of Chino Valley, it's the growth in our community as a whole. And because we serve these people, if they get in a wreck in front of the building, we don't go, you're a county resident, we're going to call the sheriff's office. We take care of them. And of course, we back the sheriff's office up and they back us up. And that's partially how we get by in this area, because none of us have enough people ever working at one time. Like that accident the other day, I can't tell you how many, we probably had 8 or 9 people out there trying to deal with that. So, and that's becoming more and more frequent as you travel through town, you see the wrecks, you see what's going on.
And I can tell you, having worked public safety, I don't care what your numbers say. You never have enough people when something big happens.
I understand that, but it's also long-term fiscal balance, you know what I'm saying? And you're also looking at other departments. And the other thing is, and it transitions into another area completely, but I'm looking at, hey, if we held off on that request for 1 year, we could reprogram that money and get something that I know is really valuable to a good number of people in this community.
He's just asking for the budget right now, because if he puts it out,
Well, I
chief
know,
puts it out right now and he gets it in a year, then he
No,
can have them
totally.
ready, because it could take a year or 2 to find the
If
candidate. And the biggest thing is gonna be the burnout. Burn them out, then they're gonna have to really pay a lot of money to find good quality officers.
I think
That's
our
the big
current
thing.
staff sees too that we're making the effort to bring in more bodies to take some of the workload off.
I can tell you, being the patrol lieutenant and talking to all the staff, the biggest complaint is officer safety. I got guys right now, I probably got 4 that are on the bubble leaving right now, just because we only have 2 people on duty at a time. And they're going to critical incident calls. They don't feel safe. Their families don't feel that they're safe. So they're getting ready to boogie. So it's keeping, and we got great staff right now. We want to keep them where they're at. So that officer safety thing is a huge draw for our people that are already here. And like the chief said, it takes so long to train somebody and get them on the road that if we don't have some type of, the 3 above or whatever we're at now, we're constantly going to be losing people, just that revolving door of retirements. And we're at a time now where a lot of our older folks that have been here for a while are moving on. And we got a lot of the younger generation coming up. So that 3 position allow us to do some lateral moves, hopefully with people that have experience to come on in and gives us a little bit more safety.
So if we do 3 this year, are we gonna be looking at 3 next year?
I don't think there's any way we're gonna fill that, so. No, we need to get to 10-hour shifts, which is really where we want to be.
So this is about the 10-hour shifts more than it is the officer safety?
Well, it's both.
Okay.
When an officer's out there 12 hours, they're not really safe to begin with.
Why aren't they doing 3/8? I don't understand why you don't have 3 shifts. 20
Understand.
I'm trying to understand, because if you have 2 a shift, and you have 3 shifts.
If we went to 5 8-hour shifts, we'd have a mutiny on our hands.
Okay, so because that's what the staff, right?
That's what every other department that are basically the 10-hour shifts is what most departments. The other thing with the staffing levels is there are departments right now around the country, like Phoenix, it's down 300 officers. So yeah, their per capita probably is lower, but they're also understaffed greatly. So.
Right.
And if I could just cover some numbers real quick. So I pulled these earlier today. From May 17th, 2022 to today, we have spent with our officers 2,936 hours on light duty. That's over 1 full-time officer. With sick call offs as well, that's 2,384 hours a year. Combined, that's 5,320 hours. 3 full-time officers is 6,240 hours. So between sick time and light duty, we're almost up to 3 full-time positions worth of hours that officers we're paying them and they're missing work.
Shabby.
Or
That's
not working on the
unique,
road.
And I understand that. And that's not unique to police forces anywhere in this country or any other shift work environment. That's a common, that's what you walked into. That's how it's always been. It's always going to be that way. I'm just saying, if everybody wants to do that, I'm just saying it would make us the highest staffing, the highest per 1,000 residents staffing in probably all of northern Arizona. And what I guess my question is, and I understand the square footage miles and all that, is what are the indicators other than the sick call and all that? Has there been an increase of calls? I've been asking we have every 6-month meetings with the chief to give us numbers.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is, are we seeing more violence? Are we seeing more drugs? Are there more domestic violences?
our calls for service continue to increase
Right.
every year. We are up 600 calls right now this year
Right.
compared to where we were last year.
Right.
Our officer initiated activity goes up, and when our officers are out there initiating their own activity, they're suppressing crime. And so right now I have 2 detectives. They have a ton of felony cases. They're actually over inundated for just the 2 of them, and they have to, because we only have the staffing only allows for 2 detectives. Every other week they're on call. And if one of them takes vacation, one guy's on call for 3 weeks straight, meaning he can't leave the area to go do anything with his family.
That's why we need to hear from you just every once in a while, every 6 months. I was asking about that so that this isn't a surprise that this is all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
I would be more than happy. I'm kind of a spaz in OCD, so I have every number of everything that could ever be thought of. And I run these on a monthly basis. But 2 times a month, I run them to give them to our sergeants to say where we're at, where our staffing is at, how they're doing. I can tell you right now, over the last 5 years, we're projected to have the highest numbers over the last 5 years combined with just calls for service. Our traffic stops, our guys and gals are doing a really good job staying afloat, even though they are burned out. They're still giving their heart and soul to the citizens. Their traffic stop numbers are up. Arrests are up by 40 from what last year.
40 number or 40%?
40 arrests,
Okay.
more than last year. And that's kind of huge if you break it down as far as we're not even through the year yet and we're already up 40. They had 7 arrests last week. Drug related contacts on traffic stops are up. They're talking about the Title 42 ending and things. I just was in a meeting about the border being open and people coming up here, we're going to see an influx of folks traveling through, transporting stuff. And like I said, if you only got 2 officers and a sergeant on duty and one has to drive somewhere to the jail and you only got 2 people in town, it's an eerie feeling at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're hearing weird stuff going on. And yes, sir.
What is your overtime cost? And of course, this will reduce it, the extra people, right?
Well, yes, it would reduce it. I don't know what it breaks down to. Like I said, I look at the total number of my salary. I mean, we have personnel side of the budget, we have operating. So Joe gives me totals. So I see personnel.
But with people missing, you got overtime,
We're
correct?
paying overtime. And it's honestly, it's the point
And
where
so
it's almost forced overtime.
for
because
every
they don't want
hour you save at
an hour and a half.
overtime, you're saving a half hour in your cost.
And our guys really are just burned out to the point we have very few that even want the overtime. We've had to force people to work just to cover shifts.
Mandatory.
Man,
Yeah.
It's clear. I spent $2 million a quarter on overtime.
We've
So
done
I
a
get-
really good job moving people around that have voluntarily moved around to cover shifts. Thank goodness. So our overtime is not through the roof as of yet, but it's getting there, especially with people, oh, I'm hurt now, I can't come into work for the next month.
Mhm.
Well, because you denied vacation time because I don't have time to take vacation. You also got to talk about training. The chief's done a real good job moving things around as far as training is concerned, because we need to get our people to mandatory trainings throughout the year. And if we don't have the personnel to send them, they don't go. So we've been trying to do more stuff in-house. And with these extra 3 bodies, we'd be able to have a little bit more leeway in doing in-house trainings, especially with the 10-hour shifts. Like
we have that overlap training day. So that would allow, especially with our building and our range, to have that day where we can pull, a third of the guys and send them this Thursday or whatever the overlap day happened to be. And then the next week you could send more guys and we're doing them in-house. So we're saving travel, we're saving per diem and things like that. So that brings our training costs down and allows us to do more training with them. So.
Do you anticipate additional SROs?
We had that discussion today. I've talked with Mrs. Thomas back there and I will be meeting with the superintendent to discuss how they're bringing on some of their own security people
Right,
this year.
armed security, that's what I've heard.
So we're going to meet and see how we work together and we're not overlapping responsibilities. We do have a new SRO coming on to replace Officer Pizzi, who's retiring.
Mhm.
But with the armed security, I don't see us putting more than one right now because they will have people in the schools.
Okay. And then do you anticipate, how you have officers that are loaned to pants?
We've had to pull both Pant and Get 'em detectives in. We're trying to
Okay.
get our Get 'em detective back next month, June.
Oh,
Because we've made obligations to those task force and they've spent a lot of money training those folks and we've had to pull them back in for staffing. So that's another thing is we want to support our task force because I was on the drug task force and I can tell you, if you don't have a body on there, your area gets ignored. The
Mhm.
reason
No, I agree.
Chino gets worked is having a detective on the task force. So we're working hard, to get the staffing where we can support those task force because it does pay dividends back to
Right.
us.
That's all I have.
Okay.
You guys rehearsed well.
If you want numbers, he's got numbers. so.
I'll get with council and mayor about numbers. I can provide that to you guys monthly if you'd like.
At least once every 6 months so that we're not surprised,
Yeah.
like I was mentioned before, captain, lieutenant, whoever it is, excuse me, chief.
Come down.
Just a summary of how things have gone, or unless the council wants it quarterly, but just a update on what's going on.
I think it wouldn't hurt to, if you could get a quarterly report to Cindy and she could disseminate it to us.
Or it can be a presentation before council, that. way-
Mayor.
I think
council.
they're understaffed.
Mayor, council. As you know, right now, we are scheduling a lot of work sessions to get through the requested work sessions. But after that, I've talked to staff about having a rotating presentation at council members. So each department is getting up in front of you and giving you information just about what's going on in their department, answering questions, things like that. So I'd like to get them in front of you on a rotating basis. After we get through our work sessions that we have
Right.
scheduled out, so that you will be getting it, not just from the police department, but from all the departments.
I came with my own rehearsal, my notes.
Chief, is this your last budget planning session also?
I'll have one more.
Oh.
My condolences. Happy to have you stick around then.
And then we have another slide here that Laura's going to go through.
Did we save the best for last?
We're at the last word.
Okay,
With regards to cost of living and merit, so HR sent out a survey to 24 of the Arizona municipalities, and we got a 67% response back. Because of the increased recruitment and retention competition in the area, not everybody was willing to share that information. So 67%, while it is still a good number, it's lower than we normally get. But from that, the average COLA of the 67% that responded, the average COLA was 5.62%. And the median, so the COLA, cost of living adjustment, the median COLA was 4%. So our recommendation that we included is 5%. With regards to the merit, the average merit based upon the responses was 3.75%, and the median merit was 4%. So we're recommending up to a 3% based upon pay for performance. Health insurance, a couple months ago, the Yavapai Combined Trust met and discussed premium increases. There was technically an increase that was recommended initially by the broker based upon revenues versus expenses. However, our reserves with the trust is $8 million over the recommended $10 million. So the board as a whole recommended no merit or no premium increase be passed on to the employer. So we are recommending the same to the employee, no premium increase in the, yes. So those are those three topics, and we've already discussed the proposed 9.5 positions.
So the other
Microphone,
one thing.
microphone, microphone. Microphone.
Don't make Aaron
Well-
come over there.
So with that, that is everything we have in the presentation. So we'd like to hear from you. There's anything else that we missed that you would like to see put into the budget or to see if we can schedule into the budget? I know there had been some talk about pickleball. We tried to address that with putting money in there to do a needs analysis or an assessment, but this is your opportunity to provide input.
You're first, Sherry.
I am?
Yes,
About what?
whatever you got.
If we're on the subject of pickleball, I like to see more recreation in Chino it's for everybody of all ages, so
And not just pickleball, anything in the budget.
anything else, yeah. But yeah, I have a couple of patients that come in to where I work and they're always like, what's going on with pickleball courts? I'm like,
You're smart.
working on it. So that's all I got. I know you've got to have
Yeah, no,
something.
two things. We didn't mention anything.
Microphone, microphone.
Oh, excuse me, Aaron, my bad. I'll have to deal with that later, so. We didn't mention anything. There was a presentation made before the council from the Chino Valley Historical Society. And that the town was willing to consider a donation to them. So I didn't see anything earmarked, line item or anything related to that.
Give us 1 second. I think we had money programmed.
I think they were gonna pull it out of the town manager's salary and donate it.
I'll take it out of the PIO.
Yeah.
For reals.
Wow. We did not.
I was suggesting finance director unless he decides to stay longer.
That's a good call too. If
So-
we didn't,
We don't have anything specifically lined in there, but that is something that we can bring back in the tentative budget.
We can add an amount in for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, have you talked to Kate or
Mhm.
Kay in a while? Their request was, hey, anything you can do, $2,000-3,000 would do us wonders for the Chino Historical Society. Their main goal
I agree.
objective right now is to get to what do they call, temperature control, the historical. I think 3 is what he said during his meeting to us. Isn't that what he said?
3 to 5,000.
3,000, not 35.
I believe,
No,
I believe
3 to
30
5.
something. That
Yeah.
seemed like, it's in my head.
And then I wanted to echo the Pickleball courts, I absolutely see that as a critical need. I don't think it's gonna cost 2 million. I did reach out and find out that Prescott Valley put 8 in for 484,000 with lights. That's a really good deal. With lights. They got 8 courts for 484.
Mayor, council member, yeah, I think Joe had that information. And so what year was that?
So it was 2021.
Right, which is
They
not long
put 'em in.
ago.
Right.
So
So,
it's triple the cost now.
right.
It's not triple the cost. It is costing
Quadruple.
more,
It's a
but
lot.
we can find a way to do it cheaper. I don't think it's gonna cost $2 million for 8 courts. He just got a bid and it was a lot less than, it was even less. I mean, for where there's a will, there's a way. It's just concrete, a fence and a thing. It doesn't take any high engineering. And Prescott did theirs, but theirs was paid for
Does.
privately. I don't know how they did that. I don't know how it works. But they had some engineering tasks because they built them into the side of a hill. So they had quite a bit of drainage and excavating work.
And
But go ahead.
Mayor, council, so that is why we did put some money in there to do some assessment of what that would cost, and perhaps we could have some money to get a design done. So that is why we put that in there. And is that satisfactory, or are you looking at trying to get another 500,000 or so into the budget to try to do it?
Personally, I'd like to see us fund it. That's just me though.
I would like to see it funded.
Yes.
Anybody else?
So we'll look into the fund, whether that takes away from another CIP project or whether we can fit that into the fund balance.
Yeah, we have a little over about $1.25 million left in the yellow.
So when we bring that,
Yellow.
if that's the consensus
We
of
could do it.
council,
Yeah.
we
I don't know.
will.
I don't know.
Tom, you didn't say anything about pickleball? Microphone.
Can I want a street to it so we can include it in the roads?
I mean, that is
Now you're
something-
learning.
Mayor, council, that is something to consider. I mean,
Jesus, man.
do we put it to roads? Do we put it to pickleball? And we'll just hear from each of you and get your input and then add it to the budget accordingly.
They say there's approximately 600 people playing pickleball locally, not counting Chino Valley because there are not enough courts.
Mhm.
I got an email this morning that there was 24 people over there at 7:00.
This morning.
Yeah.
I'm on the community center for soccer, and every time I look over there, it's crowded just for the people playing. And then you got all those who are waiting their turn. And they're not really even playing on a pickleball court. I mean, hats off to Scott and Cindy for making it work. It's actually a basketball court that they retrofitted to make it a pickleball court.
Mayor, council, let's have our community services director come up and give us a little input on that.
Something around here.
Here's a microphone.
Thank you.
Oh, this is.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Oh, she don't.
Oh, I'm gonna sit next to Frank now.
Parks
That's right. See, Parks and Rec. So with the pickleball, I just want to give you a little bit of an update from our current pickleball association. I know there's a lot of talk about Prescott's pickleball courts went in at zero cost to Prescott. Accurate, but yet not necessarily 100% accurate. Their pickleball association did come up with the majority of the funds. But speaking with Prescott's recreation department this morning, there was still probably close to about 300,000 that the city did put in. The money was budgeted through the park impact fees, which we do not have. I don't think we do, right, Joe? Thank you. The parks crew, they did not put that into the actual cash. It was the in-kind that they did the excavating, some of the concrete work, etc. And then the bathrooms associated with the pickleball courts, because if we're going to build 8 pickleball courts somewhere not near a park, we're going to need restrooms there. They had budgeted the $100,000 for that too. But let me give you an update on our pickleball association. They, as of last week, received their LLC through the state of Arizona. They have applied for their 501c3 this week. While I absolutely agree that these are needed, I think the needs survey this year is the right way to go. Give them time to get their nonprofit status so that they can help us with the money situation.
Yeah, an LLC, I much respect to that, but that takes a couple hours if.
Exactly. And, but they needed that to get their 501c3. So
Got
they're
it.
working on it.
What about at Old Home Manor? Just throwing it out there. I mean, that's our rec place. There's just
Right.
restrooms, water, sewer.
And Mayor Council,
Yeah.
that's what we would use the funding that we have put away in there to do an assessment
Next to the
and
RV
bring
park.
a recommendation to
Has there
you.
been any information come in about them having tournaments and stuff? What kind of profit they make on those?
They do have those statistics, Councilman Armstrong, but unfortunately I do not have those with me. It is a good moneymaker, that's for
Mhm.
sure. With 8 courts at 4 people per court for each tournament, 10 tournaments a day, whatever that
Those are
makes.
12 matches.
Matches.
Whatever.
Okay, see,
320.
so I'm gonna have to be schooled in pickleball just a little bit.
Pickleball's even something the mayor could play.
Oh, I want to see him out there in his little, no, never mind.
And with Old Home Manor,
It
I,
made Bob smile.
I believe I agree that Old Home Manor would probably be, again, once the study's done, most likely the most opportune place. It will have to match our general plan, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, etc. But it's a good location.
Is that something Prab would be involved with now? The new
Absolutely.
one? Okay.
Yes.
No, it's at him.
Thank you.
Cindy.
Question before you run off. Out there where the old softball field is,
Mhm.
is there bathrooms there?
No,
Porta
Okay.
potties.
a porta potty that gets dumped over semi-frequently.
Okay, I was just thinking.
That's
There-
the problem.
You know, they'd be too windy in Old Home Manor for a pickleball court.
Could be. I guess that I would hope that the study that we do would answer some of those questions.
When you talk study, do we mean like we're bringing engineers in and we're doing all the stuff that
Engineers are
Frank
required for
spends his
everything.
life doing?
I think it would be just more someone to help us do an assessment.
Okay. So we won't hear, it depends.
It depends.
We need to put 200,000 in.
How much we have to pay for a pickleball consultant?
Oh, I'm scared of the pickleball women.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just, I'd rather deal with soccer moms any day.
And Mayor
But-
Council, we would bring the Pickleball Association in to help us with
Okay.
that, I
I'll
would
be out
think.
of
They
town
would
that
probably be
week.
glad
I'll
to do
be
it.
out of town.
Be out
that
of
week.
town.
No, they're tough. I mean, I
know.
much respect, but we did tell them 2 years ago that we would put $200,000 in the budget for them last year. So where are we at with that?
Microphone.
Wait, where's
Bob?
Scott at?
Your turn, Bob. On the
0. So we're
Comments on the
negative
budget.
200,000 for what we told them.
Oh, I'm sorry, Annie.
You know, I think I recall that conversation. That rings a bell, but I don't know if it's certainty, but it sounds familiar.
So, yeah, we had money, actually, we did have $200,000
Yeah.
budgeted in future years. It just hasn't come. We haven't got to that future year yet. It could be this year if you'd like. Fine, it wasn't last year.
I don't want to spend any money this year. That's not the reality, but
Okay.
I'm a little nervous with upcoming seasons and new department head. I remember that we already committed 200,000, so when's that coming out? And how much is this study? Is it,
The study for the pickleball?
how much is the study? What, we paid like 45,000 for a stoplight? Hopefully that won't be this.
Mayor
much.
Council, I don't think it'll be that much. We don't have a specific amount just for the pickleball. We just put it for recreational amenities. But through this conversation, we know pickleball will be the priority for an assessment.
So Mayor,
They're
we-
scary. They are, man, I got pinned. They're scary.
Yeah.
Wait, the
Passionate.
soccer moms or the pickleball? list?
Pickleball. You
Pickleball.
got soccer moms are bad.
The,
No.
Don't be out.
The
there.
average-
They are
Drive
passionate.
by.
the average age that I've seen playing pickleball here in Chino, I don't believe their parents are alive.
yeah,
Hey,
No, it's an older group.
hey,
The ones I've seen are in their 60s and 70s.
So
That's not old.
Well, their parents aren't around. Well, I'm for funding it, Jack.
I'm sorry,
I'm for funding it,
the which one?
the pickleball.
Okay, but what about other budget concerns?
Well, I'm good with them,
Okay,
especially the police.
okay.
I think those guys need a break. And I don't want them pulling me over after they've been working 12 hours.
Danny?
Fourth position. if you-
Okay, bear with me. I got a few.
That's fine.
Okay. I figure 2 more hours.
Take your
It
time,
better
Annie.
not.
Okay, let's take a break.
It's actually 2 o'clock.
Would you like-
Break.
I'm
It's
just
been an
kidding.
hour.
You guys want to take a break? We can. Anybody need a break?
Annie's long-winded, so let's go.
Let's go.
All right.
What do you do?
All right, we're taking a break.
It's been 7 years.
Is that it?
We're taking it.
Do you-
Right.
Pretty hard. Everybody's not here. We lost Laura.
That's it.
Yeah.
Where's Chiefy? Chief and Laura are missing.
Spencer's on.
Need one.
Don't you have a beeper on them or something? A shot collar?
Spencer needs a part-time person.
Yeah, really. Who can double as a PIO?
Spencer. No, for the IT.
Oh,
We can't connect to the server, so.
it did it. Hey, Spencer said, I got it. Just turn it off, turn it back on, it'll be fine. Secret ballot, you know.
It was my truck got out.
That's it. It doesn't run.
Annie, you want to go?
Yeah. Who are we
Okay, we're
waiting
back.
for?
Do you need Chief in here for this or Laura?
Uh,
Because they're not here. I don't know where they are.
These are just discussion points, so. I'll just go to. I'll start off at item number 71.
Ooh, what, on what page are
Wait a
you?
minute.
Well, they're numbered.
That's Department 71.
Page 31. It's under facilities.
Facilities custodian?
Facilities maintenance.
Facilities 71 capital parking lot lights town hall, 150.
There's several.
Jack, that would be between 70 and 72.
It's Department 71. My apologies. Page 3,
Okay.
the back pages. Okay. My understanding is this tying into APS is putting in the covered parking lights. What is this parking lot for? Obviously, it's parking lot and lights, but where did this number come from?
That would be absent of any APS projects. So any APS projects that would include lighting would we'd work around that to see if we need any additional support to that. And I will always advocate for working on the pavement in the parking lot before we put anything in. Of course, I know it's a budget concern and council for that, but that's where that comes in is pretty much absent of that. We want to prepare for whether or not you put in solar, you still need lights out there. It's very dark out there right now.
Yeah, so Annie, just to be clear, these are two lights in front, or a few lights in front of town hall as you drive in the main driveway. As dark as it is
Right.
in
And
front.
yeah, so it's the lights coming in on the drive. On
Yes, that one.
the south driveway, wherever south is right now.
Yes.
And also to replace the existing lights to match the new police department lights. So that we all have the same type of light in the parking lots.
And that's because my understanding from APS is that they were going to provide those, the lights. with
Right.
the-
So depending on what they do this, we might be able to reduce this amount.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Right.
Okay, okay, cool.
And real quick, remember at the last budget when we were talking about the police department? We said he wanted to redo the pavement. We said if you had any surplus of money,
Right. There was $50,000 that was proposed and my position was if there's the money left over out of the
Right.
contingency funds,
Right.
then we could do it, but there was not money left over.
spend it all.
I didn't, the
You're
town
welcome.
did.
Honestly, we're
I
just
blame
not
Chief for
quite
that.
done to know the exact amount. We're going to be under what we originally proposed, but with the solar, it's like, don't mess with anything until we decide what's going to happen with the solar. Because if we have to dig into the parking lot, we want to.
Right. We definitely don't want to invest any money until we know exactly what's going to be done out there.
With the solar.
So you know I love you, but I'm going to put that on the chopping block.
Okay.
Okay. Not just my own personal one.
I work
Right.
at the North Campus, so.
Do what?
They said he works at the North Campus.
Well, no one's really here at dark, right?
No, in the wintertime, all of our meetings and
Okay.
some of the employees have loudly complained about the lack of lighting and safety.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll be more safe once the police are in here.
Well, okay.
Councilmember Perkins, if I may, especially during winter months, we have employees that are here early and on council meeting nights, it's extremely dark out there where the handicap parking lot is. So from the entrance doors to that parking lot,
Rule.
there is zero lighting there. Very, very, it's a safety issue, actually.
Candles. Take them a candle with them so they walk out.
I'm gonna start smack.
Okay, moving right along.
Sorry. I was just playing.
Keep
Keep
it
it
real. Oh, with the stop. Or with
the lights. I like.
Oh.
Dark sky compliant lights.
Keep it real.
And anything we do will be dark sky compliant and meet
I'm just
code.
Okay, moving on, same
Moving on.
page, down to streets, capital modular office building, $400,000. Is that fair market price?
What number you on now, Ben?
I'm still on page 3, moving down to 78 streets.
On 78 streets.
Mhm.
Sure, office
And then
building.
modular office building. I mean, I might be really, really out of touch, but 400,000 sounds like a lot for a modular office building.
It sounds like a lot to me too, but that's actually the last quote we got about 6-8 months ago was 326,000 to place the building.
Wow. How big is it?
It's a double wide.
No, not even
It's not double wide?
12 by 50, I believe.
Does it have a restroom in it? You can put it by the pickleball courts.
It does have a restroom in it.
So, cut an object right off the list right there.
Problem solving. I like it.
But that's on state
I
bid.
know it's needed. I know it's needed. I'm just looking at the number, like, that's crazy.
That's on state bid. We even considered trying to just build a steel office building, you know, like a
Right.
construction shop building, wondering if that'd be cheaper, but we're also looking at the same problems we have with every other building, that if you do that, how long does it take to get the steel? Are we going to get the supplies we need? Is it going to take 2 years to do it? We were supposed to be out of that existing building with the equestrian folks maybe
3
a year
years.
ago or so. So we're looking at that. We're just not sure we could find a cheap option. I've been back and forth with the town manager about this, just going, how do we, you know, in good conscience come to you and say that, but that's what the numbers are bearing out at this point. I don't like it any more than you do.
The manufacturers are obviously taking advantage. Like everyone else from COVID.
And of course, if we can find something cheaper, we will, but so far, the only buildings we've been able to come up with are on the state bid.
Okay. Not that the street guys don't deserve the best. I just was like, that number's insane for a modular office building.
All right, I'd just like to get them away from the skunks.
The skunks?
Oh, the building's infested with skunks right now.
Oh, well, send them my way. Okay,
They're not far from you, so.
I know. I deal with
Thanks.
them. Hydrogen peroxide, baking soda. And Dawn dish soap. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Page 4. Department 5. General Fund Capital Improvement Projects. Priority 3, remodel old police building, 600,000. My understanding is the intent, what is the intent for the old police building? Have we concluded on that, what we're doing with it?
Yeah.
No? Yeah,
We'd like to remodel it and use it for public works
okay.
And
and
if I,
HR.
oh, I was about to say, if we can add the investigations building, try and reutilize that for HR so they can maintain a separate entrance as well.
And the PAO.
Oh,
It's always going back to Laura. Okay.
We're going
It is about
backwards,
Laura.
Eric.
He's starting to get it.
Okay, 600,000? Oh, you guys are
Rough.
killing me.
We would try and come in under that. But that's based off 3,000 square feet, about $200 a square foot. It needs new roof, new HVAC, new communications.
The building doesn't. Yeah. We would put in.
Oh, okay.
Everything else.
With the roof leaks around it.
Everything else is broken.
So,
Plumbing, windows.
yeah, it needs all new communication wiring. We would try and reduce that number as much as possible. Try and keep the bathrooms where they're at if we can. That's where you'll really see an increase of cost if we have to move plumbing in the slab or anything. So we're trying to reduce or eliminate that needs.
It's not a public building, right? So it wouldn't need ADA bathrooms. So hypothetically, the
We
bathrooms.
need public
That'd
bathrooms.
be
They're not ADA
Would
now.
would have to come up to 88.
Yeah.
Even if it's not public, you still have employees that might need accessible.
Okay.
And you'd have to
Or
move the
what?
restrooms to the front because they're in the back right now, right?
From the side.
On the sidewall.
We have plumbing on the northeast corner where the bathrooms are now, and we could also reutilize. One example that we've looked at is maybe putting some locker facilities where the holding cells are now and utilizing that plumbing. Right now, none of the public works employees have any ability to take a shower or change clothes before they go home, except for utilities. When we built that building, there is a shower and some lockers in that building. So we would want to at least have the space available for the employees, because public works are all over town, basically. But this would at least give them an opportunity if they didn't want to take their dirty uniforms home. They could shower there, is what we'd hope. It'd be minimal because there's just not, most of that room would go towards lunchroom facilities / conference room that we'd be looking there. But we'd look for a bullpen area for the division managers to come in and do the work when they need. Right now, they work in the hallway outside of Sherry's office. And have room for the front desk and then office staff. And that would also provide development services, more room in that building to expand as we move forward.
That'll all be looked at as we move into the remodel
Right.
phase.
And these are just, a lot of them are my wishes and dreams. So all of that goes through the town manager first. So
Town hall improvements. I'm just going down. 150 for town hall. What's the plan for that? We're here.
believe some of that would be to accommodate staffing because we need to, and also security with the electronic door locks and items.
Right, and we're looking at some safety as well, putting a door across. Looking at putting a door across the hallway there, so that's not accessible. So there's been some different requests from staff.
Yeah.
And those are things we would look at as we move forward in the design of it.
Yeah, so one of the things was bringing a door into the MIS area, so coming off the hall. And then the existing, that little office where you have to come through, actually making that an office for more space. We postponed painting and putting new flooring in this building last year. We had some budget for that. We decided not to do it until the police department got done. So it included painting all the offices, new flooring, couple new doors. And so we just put a ballpark figure at it.
Mobile message board.
Instead of a PIO.
Sold.
Sorry.
Sold.
We'll have two.
Sold. Get two.
What was the idea with the mobile message board, Frank? I'm sorry.
I don't know if that was exactly me, but I think it's a variable message board we could use it for my department. Public Works could use it for traffic control. They rent for about $150 a day each. But I think also Maggie and PD would like to use it for economic development or special events and those sorts of things, put them out there. So it might be able to handle a more complex message than just what you normally see. Is that right? What we're looking at, Maggie? So
Location?
Mobile.
be one of the ones on a trailer.
Yeah,
Take
then you got ADOT to worry about where you park it alongside the street.
We won't park it on ADOT without a permit.
Without a permit, yeah.
But it points to the restrooms for the pickleball court.
Really?
Yeah. One area we almost need it every year is 4th of July to help with parking and things like that. Construction projects, or if we do heavy maintenance with our in-house street crews, it would be helpful with that too, but special events.
I've seen them used for like upcoming road closures if we know they're gonna happen. Just anything that we feel that we could get more information out to the driving public or use them for special events.
So right now we're renting them. The one on 1 East is being rented.
That's probably part of the contract for doing that.
You mean 1 West or 1 East? There's one on 1 East. Okay.
It's the paving. I think it's for the paving.
Well, we're paving on 1 West though. That's why I was confused. But there's a message. Yeah, we generally, when it's contractors, we require them to get the message boards, but you know, in the end, we wind up paying for it anyway. But yeah, they're typically use one on each end of a project. Sometimes you have up to 4, depending on how many roads you've got coming in. So it wouldn't preclude supplementing. We'd still need to rent some every now and then, but mobile operations, it's good with. For years, I've wanted one with a crash trailer built into it, but you just can't seem to find those. So we figured the best bet would be to get one that we could use for construction, but also use it for special events and things. So it would help us with economic development and police department events as well as public works. So it would be utilized for parks, rec, other events like that as well, not just for construction activities.
Thank you. Moving down to priority 7, town hall admin vehicle. We just get one last year.
No.
We approved one last year.
No, no, we got it a couple of years ago. We have had, the vehicle that we have here gets used quite a bit. And so we've had the need a lot of times. We just have one here. But, and it's really economic development uses it a lot out of town. So we still need one, you know, go to the bank, do all the errands and stuff from here. So it'd just be another admin vehicle in our pool of admin vehicles.
That was my misunderstanding then. I thought we added one last year.
No, ma'am.
Did we talk
No,
about
I
adding one?
think that Explorer is about 4 years old, maybe.
Yeah, we've had it a few years. Yeah. So,
I thought we had two. My apologies. I was
Yeah.
wrong on that one.
well,
There's a Rubicon Jeep for sale. I saw.
Yeah.
Wish it was Rubicon.
Silver.
yeah, Councilman Perkins, just an FYI, we have 11 vehicles on order from Ford that we ordered last budget year. We actually, I heard we have received a couple of the police vehicles. We've received 2 so far that they're getting outfitted now. In the budget, proposed budget, we have 11 additional pieces of equipment and vehicles on order. So the town should start seeing one, but like development services, they've been short admin vehicles and building department vehicles all year. It's like, it's coming. We promise it's coming, but we just haven't accepted delivery from Ford. So.
Yeah, part of that with the ordering is they tend to build the higher trim vehicles first that are more profitable.
Right.
And then the work vehicles that fleets get were the last in line. So that's why they're
Yeah.
taking well over a year to come in.
And Matt, our new fleet department head, Matt Green, he took a comprehensive look at all of our vehicles and our equipment this year and said, and based on the amount of maintenance he's putting in, number of miles, how they're being used, he looked at that entire picture and he's the one that recommended these are the vehicles we should replace and why. And there's some department shifting. We have some vehicles in one department that aren't being used. They'll be better used in this department. And these vehicles are high miles, but in pretty good shape. They can go down to this department and we could use them up. So finally, we have someone really looking at that whole comprehensive picture, and he did an excellent job in doing it. So,
And he thinks we need one more.
Yeah. Well, it was our recommendation also. Just because of the lack of vehicles we need around. And it's a vehicle that will be parked here, but can be used by any other department as a pool vehicle also.
And you still have nine vehicles total coming from last year?
We have not received 11 of the 13 that we ordered
Okay.
last year. And we're proposing an additional 11 this year throughout all the departments.
All right, I'm going to pause for right now. I'm pausing.
Okay. Go ahead, Eric.
Starting out with the pickleball, since that's where we started off, I think. What did you call, Cindy, an assessment? I think we need an assessment and get various bids to see where we'd be at for that. The couple of these that Annie brought up, the home and the remodel of the police building are a little high, but I think you're overbidding, Frank, to be conservative.
Probably. So,
Good, that's okay. And then, so that'll come up to us at, before anything starts, Frank would bring us
Actual number.
actual numbers
Mhm.
before approval.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor. And I think he is budgeting conservatively just to make sure we have enough in there, but any contract that we let will come before council.
Sure. Okay, and then as far as the additional officers needed, I really agree that the burnout, I'm concerned about the burnout for the police officers. And that's one of our biggest priorities. Public safety is huge. The amount of traffic going down 89 is unbelievable. And I think we need to really focus on that. That's one of our biggest priorities, especially with the new police station, because I think if we lose our police officers that we have now, it's going to be hard to get new ones. And we're going to be paying a lot of money for quality officers. And we have quality officers right now. The next one on the list was the PIO. Also, pretty sure we need the PIO. It's another not top priority, but I think the citizens need to be informed what's going on. We're getting a lot of people telling us that they don't know what's going on, and I don't think people know how to get the information. It's not being, there's a lot of misinformation going on in social media. And I think somebody needs to set that straight. PIO would do that, and in conjunction with the police officers or with the PD, we would it would be beneficial to work in conjunction, and that way would totally make sense. And as far as the extra vehicle, I agree. I think an extra vehicle is probably needed for admin. Go ahead, Jack.
All right. Roads and right of way. I didn't see anything in here for other than the little bit that the 1.5, is that what I saw up there? That was confusing to me, that slide. But what about our right of ways that we're going to purchase to widen roads, and do we need to start putting money aside for that?
I think.
You know, we come up with that 86 million last meeting.
Yeah, Mayor, council members. So the 1.5 was the one project, and then we looked to do an extra million. What would be, what was recommended by Public Works to be the next priority was to reconstruct some local streets. And Frank, I don't know if you can speak to if that would include getting any right of way, but I don't think at this point that was in any of the budget numbers.
no, that wasn't even considered at this time. So anything for right away would be an addition, unless you would want to reprioritize some of those monies towards looking at.
I'm just
Straighten
wanting
out some right of
I'm
way.
just seeing the way we're going, we're never going to catch up.
I agree.
So I'm just curious how we're going to do that. How are we going to fix it? Because what's the biggest complaint in town besides Safeway?
Well, Mayor, Councilmember, you're right. I mean, until we get another funding source or we cut some other projects, that's the way to get extra money to roads.
Okay, just something I was thinking of is if we
But
could
it's something,
start a little nest egg somewhere and put some money over there.
it's something that we can build into the CIP next year to, I mean, it was part of that 86 million, but we can see if we can
Sure.
add it as a project.
Right, and we'll take the time if we maybe wait this 1 year and look at it and study some of our needs along with our pavement management program coming in. That might help give us a better idea of maybe areas that we would be looking to expand the right of way or actually get proper, how do I say it? Get the proper right of way where we don't have it now. Some of the roads we're rebuilding now, technically, we don't have the right of way there. So
I understand.
start looking at that as we develop that good 10-year outlook. We can start looking at some of these roads and
Just
looking
an
at the right-of-way
area I
needs
was
of
thinking we
those.
should start, maybe put a little bucket over there and start
Absolutely.
filling up. Senior center remodel. Where's that at? And is that paid for?
Yes, yeah, that's gonna roll over into next year. It's CDBG
Okay,
grant.
so it's not out of this
Yeah,
budget.
but we have it, yeah. our match in the
Okay.
grant fund also.
Sewer and water expansion, the same thing with the roads, I feel. We need to have a bucket of money somewhere that we can maybe start throwing stuff into. And I realize it's not gonna happen overnight. Like next year, we're not gonna be able to start putting pipe in the ground, but we need to figure it.
So Mayor, Council, we agree, and we did spend some time on the CIP, putting in some projects we knew we were gonna need, putting in placeholders for a sewer line and water lines, but we are actually undertaking the integrated water master plan.
Cool.
So once that gets finished, then we'll be able to build a real program to bring in front of you with priority projects and things
Good.
like that. So the master plan is our first step in that.
And then the next one would solve our room issue, and that was the new town hall. I didn't see anything in the budget on, was it in there that I missed it?
That's the bump right
Yes.
there, 2 fiscal years out. So,
Yeah, Mayor and Council, yeah, we have it
That-
programmed into the
Yeah, that project right there is the
5-year
new town
CIP.
hall.
Oh,
And that's borrowing money to do the new town hall. But
but you're in the red, no more gold.
well, we're gonna
yellow.
use it all up, yeah, but and Chino Valley has the debt capacity to fund an additional capital building like this. If we had another grocery store or one more, if our sales tax revenue increases like it has been. So any commercial growth that will bring in more sales tax revenue will make it the town have the ability to fund that big of an expansion.
Okay, and then as far as the PIO, I say let's try it. The full-time, if we want that full-time service, let's get a full-time PIO. PD officers, I'm in favor of, and pickleball court, I agree that we need to get the study going and see what we can do with that. And that's all I got. Bob, did you have something done? I saw you reaching for your microphone.
Well, you took a lot of my stuff, but it's okay. $15,000 for a golf cart. Is that fair?
Yeah, especially during special events and stuff to transport people.
Mayor, Council, I believe that was based off of a search, or you did an online search to see how much they would cost, but the actual cost may be under that. We'll take that through our fleet services to see if we can get a bit of better deal on that. So we will definitely either get bids or put it through the right processes to make sure we get the lowest price possible.
And then there's $25,000 for the park at Center and One West.
Cat park.
Yeah, so that's part of the 125,000 that we put for recreational amenities that will look, we want to take a look at what we can do with that park to get improvements there and then put that through the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and then bring it through council for some recommendations.
Okay, because I've never seen anybody there.
Well, that's because there's no benches.
So, I mean, Mayor, Council, I get a lot of feedback from our staff. Especially I've heard a lot from our street staff that a lot of kids are walking around there and they need something to do. And if there was something at that park that it would be beneficial. No, you have, you're there. You know, it's a possibility. We'll look at, there's not really parking there. So that's a walk-up park. So, but we'll look at the different options and bring that for you.
Okay. That was it.
Anybody else got anything to add?
Just, I agree with what you said, Jack, as far as,
You agreed with me?
yeah.
Wow.
Well,
All of it?
no, because I do agree on the PIO and the PD department, police department need more help, all that.
Thank you.
PD, yes. PIO,
Microphone.
PD, yes. PIO, I'm still on the fence about that one, but 12 hours a week ain't gonna cut it. We have to improve on it anyway somehow, but I don't know, full-time, part-time, half, whatever you want to do.
Right.
Pickleball, I agree with Cindy. Wait till they get their 501c3 in effect and then go from there. Let them get their stuff together and then we can move on something, but go ahead and authorize not a study but somebody to look at it seriously.
Mhm.
So we're not paying a consultant.
And we can get estimates so we know where
Yeah.
we gotta go.
Extra vehicle for town hall. Don't know on that one. I mean, I use it to go out of town rather than use my own, but it's always available. So I don't know.
That's because you
Mayor,
want it.
Council,
'cause you're
that's because we make it available.
Available for you. I didn't say that. Pavement management program. Well, I really want to see this thing work. Because we're getting killed on roads anyway. It's not going to solve all the problems. We're never going to have enough money to fix it. But at least we can show that we're making a gallant effort at it, I hope. Water and sewer dollars got to come from somewhere, but I don't know where. Hopefully, maybe our present administration will give us another CARES Act or something. Not a chance. No.
No, we're done.
The new town hall 2 years out. Why do we need a new town hall building? What's wrong with this one? Somebody give me a good explanation of what's.
The goal is to make it. That's fine.
Is that what it is?
There's no room.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, we are out of room and to have a nice town hall that people can gather and it's a placemaker and to have all the staff in one place. Well, you won't, Public Works people will always be off-site, but it makes for better customer service. People don't have to run around all over town where people, and I don't have to deal with it every day, but I know Aaron's staff has to deal with it every day and the staff at the North Campus, people end up going to the wrong building all the time. And whether we get to do it in 2 years, we're not really sure. It's a placeholder now. It's part of the 5-year CIP, but again, until we get another revenue source, we're not really sure when it will happen, but it's a placeholder so that we start working toward having a new town hall. And where that's going to be and all that still needs to be studied.
Make this one 2 stories and stick them upstairs. So you can bang on the ceiling every time you need them.
I mean, it's an idea.
That cat park, that is nothing but a waste. We need to do something with that gives somebody some benefit out of it. I mean, it's got power and water.
Yeah.
They told me the power
And a
didn't work.
well.
Yeah.
And a well.
Yeah.
And a well. They
Yeah.
told me the power
We can
didn't
afford
work. I
that.
ran my motorhome over there and plugged it in and it sure as heck works.
Yeah.
So. But, and it was given to us as I understand. So
Yeah, something
we
happened.
took it rather,
Yeah.
Oh, that's why they call it the cat park.
That's not working. Okay. That doesn't work.
that's all I got.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord.
So, Mr. Mayor, what I'm hearing, because I have to put the numbers together for the tentative budget next Tuesday that you guys will be adopting. I'm going to add 75,000 in for the PIO. I'm going to add 3,000 in for the Historical Society. When I did the payroll original estimate, I did that back in March. So I do need to go through and recalculate those numbers. So I don't see a major change, but they're gonna change just a little bit. I do this every year right at this time, just to make sure, based on our actual employees we're paying right now versus the ones we had in March, because we've had people in and out. So I need to do a little calculation, a little adjustment there. Is there anything else you would like me to include in the tentative budget number?
We already have money in there for the pickleball court.
Yeah, review and
was some in
assessment.
there.
Yeah, we have 125,000 for that. So
Anything else, you guys?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, that's- Okay, so. Page. On the printed text. Read my eyes. Well, anyways, in here is the town of Chino Valley tax levy and tax rate information fiscal year 2024. What?
Okay.
For the lighting district?
actually, that's just a state budget form, required state budget form. So I have to say that we have 3 districts, and that's the Chino Valley Lighting Districts are there.
What's up?
Yeah, I got to complete. I put the whole page in there with the 3 on it. So takes me about an hour.
I'm having a hard time reconciling of moving the part-time PIO to a full-time employee with benefits PIO for an extra $75,000 a year. So that would put that, what are we looking at? Like 100, what's the magic number?
So it'll be 100, the total expense will be 125,000.
A year.
Yes, with salary and benefits. So we'll budget 125,000 for that position. We have essentially $50,000 already budgeted in the numbers you're looking at right now. So it's just an additional 75. Because we budgeted to keep the contract at $50,000. That's in the budget right now.
Is there some sort of merit base, Laura? I don't know if you can help me out here. Is there something we can do other than like, hey, we need a PIO, hire someone paying more than most of our town employees make? Do some sort of evaluation merit, not what we got this time.
So hopefully I'm answering your question. When we did the class and comp in earlier this fiscal year, we did include it in there just to see, what that would cost. And what we came up with was a midpoint of $82,000 for that position. When you say, so if we were to hypothetically fill this position at midpoint, there would be no compression, internal compression with the existing staff, because we've already have a placeholder, if you want to call it that, in a specific grade where they would fit in with like employees. So there would be no compression internally.
And that's base salary, not including benefits, right? So the benefits add an extra, how much?
So
30?
the peers to this position also have benefits. So their midpoint is the same. It's 82,000 and they have the same benefits. So in essence, their full package, total burden is the same, 125,000. So they would
Okay, so
become a peer to that person. Those individuals that are already existing staff based upon their knowledge, skills, and abilities and where they fall in their pay grade, they will be eligible for a cost of living adjustment come July 1st and a potential, if this is what you approve, a potential up to 3% merit increase come July 1st based upon performance. So they could be making more than midpoint or less. I don't know exactly. I think there's 2 positions in that same grade. So depending on their knowledge, skills, and abilities, it depends where they fall in the pay grade. Now, this position, what we've budgeted or are proposing to budget is midpoint, and we could technically find somebody that is below midpoint and closer to our entry level wage. So we would just have to assess it and we would just want to budget up to midpoint in case.
Average burden rate, which is.
That's what I'm looking for.
Which is health insurance, FICA, workers' comp, unemployment, retirement is 39% for our general fund employees.
Okay.
And that includes police officers. So non-police officers are probably closer to 32 to 35%.
I understand the desire of wanting to make it a in-house employee. But if we do contract employee, we bypass those, correct? The added expenses, the
But we pay-
39,000.
We pay at a higher hourly rate. We pay about the same. It's going to be the same.
It'll be the same.
Yeah.
That's a big ouch. I was joking saying that this is I wasn't joking, it's my favorite and most dreaded meeting of the year, and it's true. It's true. No one wants to say no to anything, obviously. And we all want to approve everything that you guys need. And I don't know if it's just sticker shock on my end, not being in touch, but how are we going to buy a town hall vehicle for 35,000? Nothing's 35,000.
Yeah, the government
Okay.
contract for Ford Escapes
Yeah, Ford Escape.
is gonna,
Get me on all of this.
it's gonna be,
Spoilers.
yeah.
What do we get, Joe? Usually about 5,000 discount for government.
Oh, it's, well, one, they're very base model vehicles and, they're bid out in bulk, so. So we pay we do pay a lot less than retail or MSRP for them, but they're very base model. I don't know, they're coming with power windows and power door locks.
Well, they've got current safety
Safety.
standards,
They do.
but most of our fleet vehicles for admin are just the front wheel drive. We don't get the all wheel drive versions and items like that.
You get
Ba-
AC.
We get air
Yes.
conditioning. They come standard with Bluetooth and backup cameras these days. Those are standard on all cars.
And
But
a dash.
but we get the
Sirius XM, though.
yeah, we get the base engines and our truck vehicles. We try and actually get the rubber floor mats and items if we can, because that lasts longer. So
I'm looking at back to personnel. Page 1. HR requested a temporary help and manage information systems. Okay, cool.
IT, yes.
IT support technician. So those were, could you just explain why they were not funded?
Yes, so Mayor, Councilmember Perkins. After reviewing all the personnel, I went to each department head that requested and had a candid conversation about their needs and how that would operate. And we did come to an agreement that these ones were ones that we could push off until next year. One, we don't really have the space for them. And I believe at one point, one of the departments said, I just wanted to get it on the radar because we know we're going to need it coming up. So
Yeah.
those are ones that we agreed through with discussions with the department heads that we could reevaluate next year.
So what didn't make it? Like what are like the dream items that didn't make it? Or did everybody pretty much get what they want with the exception of the few?
Yeah, so anything highlighted, and it was just a few items. The
Mhm.
other thing that in the general fund CIP, the block wall along Chino Meadows,
Mm-hmm.
the back of the park, 75,000, we didn't do that.
which I think is actually a worthy goal. If we can get contributions for that, that would be grants.
Right.
That would be amazing to have that blocked off from the park for
Mayor,
multiple
Councilmember
reasons.
Perkins, that's exactly right. That's something we're going to reevaluate. Look at what we're going to do with the dog park and then see, what it's going to look like on that side of the park. Work with Cindy and her team to see how recreation would like to see that develop as well.
Since we don't have this opportunity often, I'm gonna take the liberty here and ask, what's wrong with the dog park?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, it doesn't have a lot of amenities for the dog. It's just really some rock. We were lucky to just put
DG.
up. Huh? DG, okay, the
DG
technical
post
term.
granite.
We did just get the gazebo, which is fantastic, but I think we could probably use some benches. It's been in there for a while, so make sure that the fencing is good and probably just get out there and talk to the people who utilize the dog park more and see what they would like to have in there and how we could put some upgrades in it. It's used quite a bit, so it's going to take a lot of maintenance. And we just want to make sure that we're on top of that going forward.
But that's just part of the 125.
Yeah.
The whole 125 is not going to the dog park.
Okay,
And if-
thank you for
doesn't need
saving me that,
It doesn't need it. It
Heart
it needs a little maintenance.
A little
It has to
bit.
Be going on ongoing, but
right? I drive, yeah, I see it. Nice gazebo. I just don't know if that's a priority in the town's eyes, whole town.
And if I could jump in, as far as Public Works and Parks, Jason asked for 4 employees and I cut it down to 1 for this year, thinking we could build as we go. So that's one example of at the department level where we cut before it even got to the town manager level. So
Every department cut?
Well, Mayor, council member, it's the department head's
Yeah, that was-
responsibility to bring forward reasonable budget requests. So, yeah, I'm sure they all worked with their staff
right.
to develop reasonable budget requests.
If we put everything we would like, it would not be a reasonable budget.
Yeah.
Realistic, I guess, is maybe a better
Right.
word.
It was. Right, but. Yeah, for me, that was just one example of where we know we want to grow, but we want to do so responsibly and prudently.
missed that complete. $6,000 for a bilingual policy.
Actually, this was actually approved through the MOU this fiscal year. So we're actually going to enact it now. So I'm sorry. Yes.
It's an additional
Uh-huh.
pay for people that are interpreters. So like.
Oh, got you. Okay.
So
Yeah.
They get like an extra 5% because they're bilingual and they.
Okay, no, dígame, $6,000, I'll show up whenever you want me to. Really?
I don't know, but I'm still rocking a
That-
Galaxy
cell
S5.
That's the communications for your iPads.
Yeah.
No, that's what my time.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a Galaxy S5.
Fired up.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. It's got
We
great
need to
service.
put in some
in
money
an
for Tom to
emergency,
go
though.
to iPad use training.
Yes, sir. Would you please?
Tom and Bob.
Give him a break. You just found out yesterday you had a mailbox across the hall.
Yeah, well, whose fault was it?
Spencer should have told you about that.
And a W-2.
Is there a page on here, a calculation on here is if we funded everything versus didn't fund everything,
So,
think-
yeah, only the pink items were not funded.
right?
And the only one we didn't talk about was the equipment rental in parks maintenance under 68. And that's because he wanted to put that in there if he didn't get if we didn't approve the mini excavator. Because he's always renting the mini excavator. So we decided to purchase the equipment and that's why that was eliminated. Everything else, I mean, except for the 2 staff positions and the block wall were the only items that we did not approve or recommend.
Is that a used mini excavator?
No, it'll be a brand new one. We have a quote for it. And that's one of those things when Jason took over parks, it's been 3 or 4 years now. We have been trying to build his equipment up because he had nothing. And I mean, what he had was barely working. And so he's done a really good job of just buying a couple pieces of equipment every year to get, the guys need their tools. I think there's a landscape trailer in there.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make sense for our parks guys to have a landscape trailer where they have their weed whackers and rakes and everything on it, like the pros use?
Absolutely.
He's finally going to get one of those this year, you know, so but
Spoiled.
well, if we want a quality product, we need to give them the tools to do it. And I fully support it, as you can tell, but I've also been watching him as he's been progressing through the time. So, and that's, why we need to start, he needs a building to put all this equipment into and be able to work and sharpen his own blades and do that kind of stuff, maintain his equipment. He has really no place to do that right now over in the rec complex. So that's why the town we need a building for him at some point. So this year we thought we'd do the design. Frank finished the engineering for all the drainage this fiscal year for that.
We're
And
still working on that.
it's going to be done by June 30.
Oh,
per-
right,
Per your
right.
engineer, per your
Sorry.
engineer.
Didn't
And
hear it this
yeah, yeah. So that'll be complete. So then we can start looking at getting, utilities over to it, locate where the building's going to be and get that plan done and hopefully be able to build a little metal building. So a couple bays, restrooms, so they can have a place to work on their stuff.
What is the professional services under the town manager's office for 42,000?
So Mayor, council members, that is for us to be able to update our strategic plan that hasn't been done since, I believe, 2014. So 18, okay. So it's been 5 years and that needs to be updated and to do some mission and visioning and as well as hopefully to do some team building exercises. That's mostly what that money will be used for.
Doesn't that fall under your office in general already, though? I don't understand the additional cost.
Mayor, council, that amount of money isn't in our ongoing because we don't do that stuff every single year.
Mhm.
So that would be an additional cost incurred. That's something we do every 5 years, probably we do that. So we don't have that in the budget every year.
Sonic wall end of life replacement?
Spencer, yours?
Spencer's.
Firewall, just some firewall equipment, some security, networking security equipment that has come up and come due end of life replacements.
I like your terminology. As it is for me every year, I just like to see everything funded, but obviously we can't do that. And I'm worried financially where we're going to be sitting 2 years from now. The modular office building, I really don't like that number, but if there's nothing we can do about it, there's nothing we can do about it. Okay, on the lights for town hall, but can we hold off on the parking lot until we figure out what APS is doing? Is that?
That's the plan. Like, that's the plan.
That's the plan, but that's, okay, so that 150 is just for the lights?
It's just a plug figure to see what we need after the solar. After APS decide what we're going to do with solar. it gives us enough of a cushion to do whatever we need to complete the lighting project. Or to give us adequate lighting.
And I'll make sure to talk to the Prescott Valley folks. We got the pickleball court lighting, so make sure we get the best value. But that is serious. It will look at all options to try and minimize that cost, because I don't think 150 is, it's gonna take that just for lights.
Same.
At least I hope so.
There's a candlelight.
Yeah, I think the ball field lights were about 250, if I remember right. Or was it 383?
Yeah. for the last outlet.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm back to the having a hard time not funding to personnel and adding a part-time contract to a full-time in-house position. I'm having a real hard time I'm struggling with that. Instead of having the temporary HR staff and the IT support technician, not approving those, but upgrading a PIO to inside full-time. And one's just a temp for human resources.
Yeah.
Boss, what say you?
I'm sorry,
I said, boss, what say you?
about what? About the issues?
About the budget. I'm just passing the mic back.
Okay.
Well,
I
yeah,
got
wait,
it.
hold on. Here's one more. Hang on.
Oh,
This, I didn't see this before. I just assumed this was this one. Is this a 7? Yeah, IT support technician, which would be the same price point as the full-time PIO.
support technician is 86,000.
It'll be less.
Be the same one.
Same price as a full-time PIO.
That after benefit, that's
That's with benefits there. It'll be a lesser position.
50 grand less.
Yeah.
Support technician. Working under Spencer. Spencer.
Yeah, so
A junior Spencer.
it's, yeah, and I will tell you, Spencer does need help now and could use the help now. And maybe if not funding it for a full year, maybe going ahead and just funding half of it so we could actually recruit it next spring and have that person. Because I think we have a little planning to do to get ready exactly what that person's going to do. So that's always an option.
And where you gonna put them?
That's part of the
That's
planning.
the big,
Jack.
that's the big picture issue, right? Like
Yeah.
we're doing all of this and moving this and fixing this so we can move people around, so we can hire people to fit positions that we can't afford.
Yeah, because we are adding, every time we add an employee, that adds additional seats, additional effort that they have to do. We have a brand new police department,
can
which
add
is
one, but
state of the art that he's going to be spending a lot of time at. So the demands on his department have increased and.
Oh, I
we'll get it,
100%
yeah.
agree with you.
So, but maybe that would be I'm looking at Spencer, he's going to be begging for that position this time next year. So maybe plan on filling it in January wouldn't be a bad idea, just doing a half a year salary.
We'll be in a new town hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty high-tech building. We were talking about it with Mary Lee and the police stations. It's gonna be rough for them to run
Mayor.
it there.
Mayor and council, if that's something you would like us to look at, adding that's why we put this on here. So it's for your discussion. If that's a position that you would like for us to add back in, Joe, we can look at the ongoing revenues and bring that back at the tentative budget.
Yeah, I mean, we have the capacity.
I didn't realize that he was gonna be you're doing the PD building. Oh, I
Also-
think that's worthy.
He
That's
needs an
me.
extra person just to deal with my laptop.
It's an iPad.
Yeah, not the dad.
Yes, so that's
Fine,
definitely
thank
why
you.
we left that in here. If that's something for your discussion items, and that's what I'm hearing from you, then that's something we will add back into the budget and bring it to you on at tentative.
Okay.
Well, what do you think?
Fine with me.
For him and
Is
Sandra.
that Tuesday, Joe?
Whatever they need. to do.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah, I just don't know where.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All-
after we leave this meeting, he's gonna rush back and get all this fixed up so that we can get it published
Yeah,
tomorrow. to
All you'll see in
read
your,
For you.
sorry, all you'll see in your agenda packet is the updated state budget forms, because that's what you'll do. And then we'll start working on the budget book.
Okay.
With it.
So this is, but approval of the 23-24 budget is going to be next Tuesday.
The tentative.
The tentative, that sets the upper limit. So between then and final budget, we could actually eliminate things and
Right.
reduce it, but we can't increase it.
Right.
So what you adopt on Tuesday, we will publish in the paper and put on our website for the general public to see.
Okay.
And then it'll come back about 30 days later. We'll have the notice of public hearing. I think the last meeting in June, you'll adopt the final budget.
So if we put it in now, we can always take something else out later and that's fine.
We
As
can.
long as we go down.
We can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we-
Put it in.
Mayor and council, I mean, I have heard that, and do I have agreement that that's something we should put back
It's
in the
fine with
budget?
me. Put it
Could you
in there.
repeat? I didn't hear.
Agree.
I've heard the idea, and if everyone agrees, then we'll go
In
ahead
terms of
and
the IT position.
Which,
the
yeah.
IT
please do.
position,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I
Yes.
didn't know they were doing the police department's IT stuff too. I mean, him and Sandra, that's.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
Well, I could hope.
Well, yeah,
He just needs,
Facebook is
he
enough.
just needs to put in more time.
They know how to restart.
Yeah.
18 hours a day. No big deal.
Unplug it, plug it back in.
That's what he tells me.
Control.
Okay, so we're gonna put that salary back in for that part-time person. I see thumbs up. Everybody nod. Yeah.
full-time,
It's full time.
full-time.
Question real
It's
quick.
full-time.
Spencer,
Okay, whatever it is.
On
full-time.
on a contract basis, that wouldn't work, right? For a contractor?
Well. There we go.
I don't know to have police access.
You can, but they typically contract is like you bring them on, you use them for a period of time and then that's it. The other thing that bothers me about contract employees is that you have to share a lot of information with them. And
Then they're
so
gone.
you have to create a good trust relationship and have a good working relationship with them ongoing. So I would say, I have to remember, Neil, that you can do it. So it's not outside the bounds to do so. It's just, it creates some other challenges you actually have to deal with. So
Thanks.
Okay, anything else? At all?
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
I said, yeah. I just like to be a pain in your butt.
Yeah, you do. I got a baby to go meet.
It's just 44 million.
Take your time.
Thank you.
Or what is it?
We'll give it to 45.
45.
Okay. No, I'm teasing.
I just want to hang out with Joe one last time.
Come hang out all you want, Andy.
Huh?
Wait till you see me sweating in about a half hour putting all this together.
He's like, I made all these promises and I can't find it. And you'd let us know if that's the case. If your figures are recalculating, and there's a problem, we're gonna know about it.
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's nothing material. And you know, the town is on a very stable financial position. If we do have a recession or a hard landing or whatever they want to call it, there's so much capital money built into our budget that all we have to do is just turn it off and not do the projects that we have. But we will still be able to pay our employees, still be able to provide our essential services, public safety, senior center, library, and we'll be fine for a couple of years. You have enough in reserves to handle that. Now, if it gets worse than that, you got to readjust. But the town is in pretty stable financial position for a community our size. And that's gonna be a quote on the rate.
Right.
If it doesn't work, we'll retire you.
And if it doesn't work, I'll retire.
That's
Yes.
what we did during the COVID vid stuff, is just
Yeah.
cut down to essentials.
Yeah.
Worked out pretty well. Saved us quite a bit of money.
The last couple of years, we haven't even been able to spend all the money we budget because this is a pretty aggressive, there's a lot to do here.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is a year from now, it's not all gonna get done,
Right.
you know, but that's okay.
And we're
That's
gonna have a new finance.
Hope you do.
Yeah.
Hope so.
It's gonna be the temporary HR position.
Yeah.
Bean counter.
Well, your price.
But if it ever, you know, I'm not gonna leave the town in a lurch and I'm not gonna go until you have somebody competent to fill my position. So I'm gonna give you 6 months
Comfortable,
notice.
You've been here for years, always
I
done
know.
an excellent job.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you, but-
my nervousness is because the economy, and B, we're gonna have new financial director, whatever your new title, what's your new title?
That sounds good.
Okay.
I always thought your title was Joe.
Yeah.
Funny guy.
You say any?
I say I wish we could say yes to everything.
Yeah. But no, so much fun.
It's not, it
Oh.
hurts me,
Okay.
except for the PIO. That doesn't hurt me a bit. Not one bit. Anybody else?
We're just. You're the one.
Just wait. Oh. Nothing from you, huh? Wait, oh. We have public relations also in here? For 5,000,
In the town manager's budget.
right? What's that for? If we're hiring a PIO?
Publications or?
Yeah, I think it's.
Give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, and that's Annie just increasing the department's line item. Yeah, that's it. There's
43. 43. Thousand.
Spend a bunch of materials and that.
Yeah, so this was a request from Terry to be able to increase community outreach and communication, stuff that she does out of her house, printing materials, things that we need.
Yeah, we budgeted $5,000 last year and we're going to spend about $8,000 in total this year. So that line item's a little bit out of budgets or will be a little over budget.
Right, it's been overspent for the last couple of years, so.
In total, the town manager's operating budget will be down, but this just increases the line item from $5,000 to $10,000.
But the line item is 5,000 and 5,000.
Yeah, line items, we budgeted 5,000 this year. We're going to spend about 8,000 of it. So we just wanted to increase it to $10,000 because we are spending about at that level. You know.
Jack, can I ask for clarity on something? Just want to make sure. Can we do an unofficial straw count on the PIO? Do we know for sure that we are pursuing it or not?
No, sir, but understand, this is not the budget. This is tentative.
Right, and I know, and I understand that. That's what I'm saying. But what was the straw on our pursuit?
We're
of
not
that?
allowed to vote.
We're not. It's a
No.
straw poll.
Can't.
There's nothing but binding with a straw
But
poll.
again, just go around and talk about if you were in favor or you weren't.
Right.
And
Hey, Sherry, go.
Ask the attorney, he's here somewhere.
Are you there, Andrew?
Yes, sir.
You're awake, huh? Can we go
He's
around the
earning
room and
his
say if they're in
pay.
favor or not of the PIO?
This is direction to the staff for the budget, so it's not like in the E-session where you're constrained and you can't give direction. You can give direction here.
Okay. Sherry, how do you feel about the PIO?
I'm for it.
Okay. John?
I am not.
Hey,
I'm on the fence.
on the fence. Bob?
Nope.
Annie?
No.
Eric?
Yes.
And I'm in favor of it.
So find a 3/4 time employee.
3/4.
Trying to tell me I need to come off the fence?
I'm not telling you anything, sir.
You don't have to today. Right?
No, he does.
we can add it in the budget.
I thought it's already in the budget.
We could have a decision later
It's not in the budget or it is in the budget?
or before you actually advertise. for it.
I'm falling off the fence. I'm leaning no.
All on the,
Thank you.
So the contract, the contract as we have today is still in the budget, correct?
yes.
All right.
We're gonna
If you like.
Manage.
If you like.
vote on the support for IT.
I think we got that already.
We're good with that?
Everything else, I think we're clear on.
Or can the contract change somebody else?
I don't think that's something we could discuss today.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not in our. That
I had a
falls.
question.
I'm sorry. I'm training you. I'm training you.
Okay.
We're not allowed to talk about those two.
No.
No,
What do you say, Annie?
about,
You done?
Yeah, Jack.
this is just my favorite meeting. I don't want to let y'all go.
Everybody else ready to go?
I know you are. You can go.
He's got a couple lines.
You done?
Off the page already. You smile?
Joe, are we gonna be okay? I mean, I know you always do well with your budgets and your estimates and you're conservative and we're always all right, but you're leaving. So this is like it, you know what I mean? Like in a couple of years, we're just gonna have to go off of what we're building on today.
Annie, I'm not the only one in the world that can do what I do.
True.
And there are a lot of very qualified people that do what I do. And I'm confident you'll find somebody
Mhm.
that'll be able to do a good job for you. I am.
It won't
And
be you.
they won't be me, but they will be able to do the job fine.
But he's gonna
So,
help us pick.
When you work for a city or town, you're just on the train and sometimes the train stops. One person gets off, another one gets on, and the train will keep going years into the future. So
Mhm. Well,
yeah.
thank you
I appreciate
for the
that.
past few
Yeah,
years.
thank you
Yeah,
for what
that
you've done in the
you've,
past and continue to
Yeah.
do.
Been amazing for us.
But I couldn't have done what I did without my great staff and all the department heads. You guys got really good department heads
Good.
working for here. So
Good, good to hear.
Sherry?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Annie will.
Annie, did you say you were done?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, I thought you said you were done. I hope I didn't cut you off.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, I actually.
Uh-huh. We can do that.
They will be there.
Can we?
There's money to move.